He died protecting a hero and awoke inside a crying baby. Kurama thought his story ended in another world, but fate had other plans. This time, there's no seal, no hatred, just a blank slate and a boy destined to shake the world without a quirk. Welcome back, ChronoCrew Legends. In this timeline, Izuku Midoriya doesn't inherit one for all. He inherits something far older and far more dangerous. With Kurama as his guide, Deku grows into a warrior forged by chakra, not society. Quiet confidence, brutal training, and a power no one in this world understands. This is a new kind of hero story, and it's only just begun. 150 likes unlocks the next part. Subscribe to the channel and join the ChronoCrew if you haven't already. Let's rewrite destiny. I'm sorry, Naruto. The words hung heavy in the air as Kurama felt his consciousness fading. The battle against Ishiki Otsutsuki had demanded everything he had. His chakra, his very essence, was depleting rapidly after activating Baryon mode. We've been through a lot together, haven't we? The NineTails reflected, his massive form growing transparent within Naruto's mindscape. Naruto's eyes filled with tears. Kurama, don't give me that look, the fox growled, though his voice lacked its usual bite. This isn't goodbye forever. Remember what your father said about chakra? Energy never truly dies. As the last remnants of his form began to dissolve, Kurama felt an unexpected pull. Not the gentle dissolution he had anticipated, but a violent tearing, as if something was dragging his consciousness across a vast, impossible distance. What is happening? He managed to think before everything went dark. Then sensation. New sounds, smells, feelings, all foreign yet somehow familiar. A newborn's first cry pierced the air, and Kurama found himself inhabiting a tiny, fragile body. Congratulations, came a voice from somewhere outside. It's a healthy baby boy. Izuku, a woman's exhausted but joyful voice replied. His name is Izuku Midoriya. Within the infant's body, Kurama stirred, disoriented and weakened. Where am I? What is this place? The fox's consciousness probed outward, sensing an unfamiliar world filled with strange energies, not chakra as he knew it, but something else. As the infant Izuku slept in his mother's arms that night, Kurama began to understand. Somehow, he had been transported to another reality entirely. His chakra was bound to this child, this Izuku Midoriya, in much the same way he had once been sealed within Naruto and his mother before him. So I'm to be a Jinchuriki's prisoner again, he thought bitterly. But as the days passed into weeks and months, he realized this was different. There was no seal constraining him, no generations of hatred coloring their connection. Just a pure, untainted link between his chakra and this innocent child. Perhaps, Kurama thought as he watched the baby's consciousness develop, this was a second chance. A new beginning, in a world that knew nothing of the tailed beasts or the endless cycles of violence that had defined his existence. And so, the nine-tailed fox settled in to observe, to learn, and eventually to guide. Useless Deku. The taunt echoed across the kindergarten playground as a green-haired boy of 4 stood, facing 3 bigger children. At their center, a blonde boy with explosive hands sneered. Why do you even come to school? You don't have a quirk. You'll never be a hero. Inside Izuku's mindscape, Kurama growled. These little brats remind me of the humans who feared and hated my kind, he rumbled. Are you going to let them talk to you that way? Kit, over the past 4 years, Kurama had made his presence known gradually to the child. At first, just whispers and feelings the boy couldn't quite understand. Later, as Izuku's mind developed, actual communication became possible. The fox had been a constant presence, especially after the devastating news that Izuku was quirkless. Kakin, Izuku said firmly, standing his ground despite his shaking knees. You don't have to be mean. I can still be a hero someday. Ha! How? Katsuki Bakugo stepped forward, small explosions popping from his palms. You gonna fight villains by crying at them? Show him, Kurama urged. Just a little. We've been practicing. Izuku hesitated. The voice in his head, his secret friend, the great fox spirit that no one else could see or hear, had been teaching him strange techniques in private. Things that weren't quirks but something else entirely. Something Kurama called chakra. No, Izuku whispered. Mom says I shouldn't fight. You don't have to hurt him. Just show him you're not weak. Before Izuku could decide, Bakugo lunged forward, his palm raised to deliver an explosion directly to Izuku's chest. Without thinking, Izuku channeled chakra to his feet as Kurama had taught him and leapt backward, clearing 10 feet in a single bound. Everyone froze, including Izuku. What was that? One of Bakugo's friends stammered. Bakugo's eyes widened, then narrowed dangerously. You lied. You do have a quirk. Izuku looked at his hands, then at the distance he'd just cleared. I don't. Run, Kit, Kurama advised. We'll talk about this at home. Izuku didn't need to be told twice. He turned and sprinted away, chakra unconsciously flowing to his legs, making him faster than any 4-year-old had any right to be. Later that evening, Izuku sat cross-legged on his all-might bedspread, eyes closed in meditation as Kurama had taught him. Are you mad at me? The boy asked the empty room, though his question was directed inward. No, Kit, but we need to be more careful. This world has its own rules, and we don't want to attract the wrong kind of attention. But what is this power? Mom took me to so many doctors. They all said I don't have a quirk. Kurama sighed, a sound that manifested as a warm rumble in Izuku's chest. It's not a quirk. It's chakra, a different kind of energy altogether. Where I come from, everyone has the potential to use it, though few master it truly. Where you come from? Izuku's eyes flew open. Where is that? Are you an alien? A deep, rumbling laugh filled the boy's mind. Not exactly. I come from elsewhere. A different world with different rules. I was a being of immense power there, one of the 9-tailed beasts, the strongest of them all. Izuku's imagination ran wild with this revelation. Like a spirit? Or a yokai from the old stories? Something like that, Kurama conceded. But what matters now is that I'm here with you. And if you're willing to learn, I can teach you to use this power. To be a hero? Izuku's eyes shone with hope. Yes, Kit. To be a hero unlike any this world has seen. That night marked the beginning of Izuku's true training. Every day after school, he would find a secluded spot in the nearby woods to practice under Kurama's guidance. The fox taught him first to sense and channel his chakra, a difficult task in a world where no one else possessed such energy. Focus, Kurama instructed as 6-year-old Izuku sat with his hands formed in a seal. Feel the energy flowing through your body. It's like a river with many tributaries reaching every part of you. Sweat beaded on Izuku's forehead as he concentrated. Slowly, a faint blue glow emanated from his hands. Good. Now direct it to your feet, like we practiced. Izuku shifted his focus, channeling the energy downward. With a determined expression, he rose and approached a nearby tree. Placing one foot against the trunk, then the other, he began to walk vertically up the side. I'm doing it, he exclaimed, making it 6 steps before his concentration broke and he tumbled back to the ground. Kurama's chuckle resonated within him. Not bad for a kid your age. In my world, they wouldn't teach you this until you were at least twice as old. Izuku beamed with pride despite the scrapes on his elbows. What else can I learn? Patience. Mastery takes time. But if you're committed, there's no limit to what you can achieve. As the years passed, Izuku's training intensified. By age 8, he could walk on water, scale the tallest trees, and perform basic taijutsu forms that Kurama remembered from watching countless shinobi. His mother, Inko, noticed the changes in her son. His increased confidence, his improved physicality, his habit of muttering to himself as if conversing with someone else. But whenever she asked, Izuku would simply smile and say he was training to be a hero, quirkless or not. She worried, of course. But seeing her formerly timid son grow stronger and more self-assured each day, she chose to support him rather than question too deeply. By age 10, Izuku had begun to master more advanced techniques. The Shadow Clone Jutsu requires precise chakra control, Kurama explained as they trained deep in the forest. Unlike the regular clone jutsu, which creates only illusions, this technique creates solid duplicates that can fight independently. But won't people realize this isn't a normal quirk? Izuku asked, his hands positioned in the cross seal Kurama had shown him. In this world of superpowers, who's to say what's normal? Many humans here can create duplicates of themselves. Yours will simply work differently. Izuku nodded, then concentrated intensely. Shadow Clone Jutsu. A puff of smoke erupted beside him, and when it cleared, an identical Izuku stood there, blinking in surprise. It worked! Both Izukus exclaimed simultaneously. One clone is a start, Kurama acknowledged. With practice, you'll create many more. Now, try sparring with your clone. The training continued. By 12, Izuku could create 5 shadow clones consistently, each capable of independent action. He learned to enhance his punches and kicks with chakra, increasing their impact tenfold. He practiced the tree and water walking exercises until they became second nature. And at 13, Kurama began teaching him his most challenging technique yet. The Rasengan, the fox explained, is a powerful technique created by a great shinobi from my world. It concentrates spinning chakra into a sphere of pure destructive force. Like Kaken's explosions? Izuku asked, watching as Kurama manifested a visualization in his mind. A swirling blue orb of energy, more controlled, less volatile. It doesn't explode outward but grinds into whatever it touches. It took the fourth Hokage 3 years to develop this technique, and his son, my previous Jinchuriki, weeks to master it. How long will it take me? Kurama's voice held a hint of pride. You've been controlling chakra since you were 4, Kit. You tell me. It took 3 months of intensive training. First, Izuku learned to burst water balloons using only his chakra rotation. Then rubber balls requiring more power. Finally, maintaining the rotation and power while containing it within a fragile balloon without breaking it. On a crisp autumn day, just before his 14th birthday, Izuku stood in their training clearing. His palm extended as a perfect sphere of blue energy swirled above it. Rasengan, he whispered, then thrust the technique into a boulder. The stone didn't shatter. It spiraled inward at the point of impact, then exploded into fragments that scattered across the clearing. Well done, Kit, Kurama rumbled, his satisfaction evident. You're almost ready. Ready for what? Izuku asked, staring in awe at what he'd accomplished. For UA High School, for the beginning of your hero journey. Izuku's face broke into a determined smile. The path ahead would be challenging, a quirkless boy with mysterious powers entering Japan's most prestigious hero academy, but with Kurama's guidance, he felt ready for anything. Little did he know just how much his unique abilities would shake the foundations of the hero world. The day of the UA entrance exam dawned clear and cold. Izuku stood before the massive gates of the academy, his breath forming clouds in the winter air. Around him, hundreds of other applicants gathered, each hoping to secure a spot in the hero course. Nervous, Kit. Kurama's voice resonated within him. A little, Izuku admitted quietly. Everyone here has amazing quirks they've been using their whole lives. And you have chakra, something none of them understand or can counter. Remember your training. Izuku nodded, adjusting the green tracksuit he'd chosen for the exam. Over the past year, he had intensified his training, pushing his body and chakra control to new limits. He could now maintain 10 shadow clones simultaneously, walk on any surface, enhance his physical abilities with chakra, and perform a Rasengan powerful enough to level small buildings. Yet he kept his abilities largely secret, revealing them only in moments of absolute necessity. Today that would change. As he made his way toward the entrance, his foot caught on an uneven pavement stone. He stumbled forward, only to find himself suspended in mid-air, inches from the ground. Sorry for using my quirk on you without asking, a cheerful female voice said from beside him. But it'd be bad luck if you fell, right? Izuku turned to see a round-faced girl with rosy cheeks smiling at him. She pressed her fingertips together and suddenly the weightlessness affecting him vanished. I'm Achiko Uraraka, she introduced herself. Super nervous about the exam. You too, Izuku Midoriya, he replied with a smile. And yeah, pretty nervous. But we've all worked hard to get here, right? Making friends already? Kurama teased. She seems bubbly. Izuku ignored the fox's comment as they walked together toward the examination hall. Inside, the pro-hero present mic explained the practical portion of the exam, robots of varying point values that the applicants would need to defeat in a mock cityscape. So we're fighting robots, not each other, Izuku murmured. That makes things simpler. Don't get overconfident, Kurama warned. This test is designed to evaluate quirk users. Your abilities work differently. You'll need to be strategic. After the briefing, the applicants were divided into groups and transported to different testing grounds. Izuku found himself separated from Uraraka but focused his mind on the task ahead. Standing before the massive fake city gates, he closed his eyes briefly, centering himself as Kurama had taught him. He felt the chakra flowing through his body, steady and powerful. Remember, Kurama advised these machines likely have sensors to detect conventional quirks. Your chakra might register differently. Use that to your advantage, right? Izuku whispered. Present Mix's voice boomed over the loudspeaker. Start! While other applicants hesitated, Izuku was already moving, chakra flowing to his legs as he sprinted forward at inhuman speed. Within seconds, he spotted his first target, a two-pointer robot rolling down a side street. Shadow Clone Jutsu, he called, forming the hand seal. Two perfect copies of himself appeared beside him in puffs of smoke. The robot swiveled toward the sudden chakra signature, but it was too late. While his clones flanked the machine, Izuku himself leapt high into the air, chakra gathered in his fist. He came down hard on the robot's sensor array, his enhanced strike crushing through metal and circuitry. 2 points, he counted, already moving toward the sounds of combat nearby. In the observation room, UA's faculty watched the various testing grounds on multiple screens. Several teachers leaned forward as cameras focused on a green-haired boy moving with uncanny speed and precision. "What's his Quirk registration?" Principal Nizu asked, eyeing the monitors. Aizawa consulted a tablet. Midoriya, Izuku, registered as Quirkless. Quirkless, All Might echoed in surprise. "That can't be right. Look at how he's moving." On screen, Izuku had encountered a group of 3 one-pointers. They surrounded him, closing in for attack. Without hesitation, he formed another hand seal. Shadow Clone Jutsu. This time, 5 duplicates appeared, each moving independently to engage a robot. The observers watched in astonishment as the clones coordinated perfectly, striking vulnerable points with chakra-enhanced blows that tore through metal like paper. "Those aren't illusions," Midnight noted. "They're physically interacting with the robots, and they disappeared in smoke when hit," Snipe added. "Not like any duplication quirk I've seen." Aizawa's eyes narrowed. Something's not adding up here. Back on the testing ground, Izuku had accumulated 28 points and was still going strong. His training with Kurama had built not just his techniques but his stamina as well. While other applicants were beginning to tire, he felt like he could continue for hours. "3-pointer at your 2 o'clock. Kurama alerted him, his sensory abilities extending beyond Izuku's natural perception. Izuku pivoted, spotting the larger robot emerging from between buildings. This one was more heavily armored, its weaponry more substantial. "Time to try something new," he muttered, forming a familiar sequence of hand seals. Water style, Water Bullet Jutsu. Drawing moisture from the air, a technique Kurama had only recently taught him, Izuku expelled a concentrated jet of water from his mouth. The pressurized stream hit the robot's main joint with such force that it severed the connection, causing the machine to topple. As it fell, Izuku was already dashing forward, a Rasengan forming in his right hand. "Rasengan!" he shouted, driving the spiraling chakra sphere into the robot's exposed underside. The machine crumpled inward before exploding into pieces. 31 points, he counted, breathing a little harder now. Suddenly, the ground began to shake. Buildings trembled as an enormous robot, easily 10 stories tall, emerged at the end of the main street. The 0-pointer that President Mike had warned them about. Most applicants turned and ran. Izuku was about to do the same when he heard a cry of pain. Glancing back, he saw Uraraka trapped beneath rubble, directly in the 0-pointer's path. "Kit, that one's worth nothing," Kurama reminded him. "And it's dangerous." "Someone's in trouble," Izuku replied without hesitation. "I can't just leave her." Before Kurama could argue further, Izuku was sprinting toward the massive robot, chakra surging through his system. Shadow Clone Jutsu. 10 clones appeared, the maximum he could currently maintain. As one, they rushed to Uraraka's side, working together to lift the debris pinning her leg. "Midoriya?" she gasped, recognizing him despite the chaos. "My clones will get you to safety," he assured her as 3 duplicates carefully lifted her. "I'll handle the robot." The remaining clones spread out as a distraction while Izuku himself faced the mechanical behemoth. The 0-pointer raised a massive fist, preparing to crush everything in its path. In the observation room, the faculty watched with bated breath. "Is he actually going to fight it?" President Mike exclaimed. "That thing is designed to be avoided." Aizawa leaned forward, his usually bored expression replaced by intense focus. "He's planning something." On the ground, Izuku gathered chakra to his legs and leapt, soaring upward with such force that he cleared half the robot's height in a single bound. At the apex of his jump, he created 2 more clones that appeared on either side of him. The clones grabbed his arms and spun, using the momentum to fling him even higher, directly toward the 0-pointer's head. As he rocketed upward, Izuku extended his right hand, concentrating intensely. Chakra swirled in his palm, condensing and rotating faster and faster until it formed a Rasengan twice the size of any he'd created before. "Careful, Kit," Kurama warned. "You're pushing too much chakra into it." But Izuku was beyond caution now. As he reached the robot's head, he thrust his arm forward with all his might. Rasengan. The oversized chakra sphere collided with the 0-pointer's central processor. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, with a sound like a hurricane contained in a tin can, the robot's head began to collapse inward, circuits and metal twisting into a spiral pattern before exploding outward. The force of the explosion sent Izuku hurtling backward. He'd used too much chakra on the attack and had none left to cushion his fall. As he plummeted toward the ground, his vision blurring, he saw his clones dispersing after setting Uraraka safely aside. "Kit, focus," Kurama roared in his mind. "I'll lend you my chakra." A surge of energy, different from his own, wilder and more potent, flooded Izuku's system. His eyes flickered red for just a moment, and faint orange energy briefly outlined his body. It was enough. He managed to flip in midair and land in a crouch, the pavement cracking beneath his feet. When he stood, everyone was staring at him. The entire testing area had fallen silent. "Time's up," President Mick's voice announced over the loudspeaker. In the observation room, the faculty sat in stunned silence, replaying the footage of Izuku's final attack. "What exactly did we just witness?" Vlad King finally asked. Principal Nizu stroked his chin thoughtfully. "Something very interesting indeed. Aizawa, you said he's registered as quirkless." According to his medical records, yes, Aizawa confirmed, his eyes still fixed on the screen. Whatever that power was, it's not classified as a quirk in any database. All Might remained uncharacteristically quiet, his thoughts racing. A quirkless boy with such power? It defied everything he understood about this world. "Well," Nizu said, his tone light despite the gravity of the situation, "I believe we have our top scorer for the practical exam." As recovery robots moved through the testing ground, administering first aid to injured applicants, Izuku sat on a chunk of debris, catching his breath. The burst of Kurama's chakra had left him feeling drained but exhilarated. "That was reckless," the fox grumbled. "Using my chakra in public like that, people will have questions." "I know," Izuku whispered, "but I couldn't let myself get hurt after coming this far. And besides," he glanced over at Uraraka, who was being treated by a small robot with a first aid symbol. "I couldn't let anyone else get hurt either." Kurama's sigh reverberated through his mind. "You really are just like him. Like Naruto. Is that a bad thing?" "No, Kit," the fox replied, his gruff voice softening slightly. "It's why I've decided to help you become a hero in this world. Just be prepared, from this point on, nothing will be the same." As if on cue, Izuku noticed several other applicants pointing in his direction, whispering among themselves. The words quirkless and impossible drifted to his ears. He stood, brushing dust from his tracksuit. Whatever challenges lay ahead, he would face them with Kurama by his side. The entrance exam was just the beginning. 2 weeks after the entrance exam, an envelope bearing UA's seal arrived at the Midoriya household. Izuku stared at it for a long moment before gathering the courage to open it. Inside was a small projector disc that activated upon contact, displaying a hologram of All Might in his heroic form. "I am here as a projection," the symbol of peace announced. "Young Midoriya, I am pleased to inform you that you have been accepted into UA High School's hero course." Izuku's heart leapt as All Might continued, explaining that he had earned the highest score in the practical exam, not just for defeating robots, but for his rescue of another applicant. "While many focus solely on combat, you risked your own safety to help someone in need. That is the true mark of a hero." All Might's smile somehow grew even wider. "Welcome to your hero academia, young man." As the projection faded, Izuku sat in stunned silence. "Not surprising," Kurama commented. "You did destroy their biggest robot with a single attack." "We did it," Izuku whispered, tears welling in his eyes. "We really did it." His mother burst into the room moments later, having heard All Might's booming voice. When Izuku told her the news, she enveloped him in a tearful hug. "I'm so proud of you, Izuku," she said, pulling back to look at her son. "You've worked so hard for this, even when everyone said it was impossible." That evening, as Izuku prepared for bed, he entered his mindscape to speak with Kurama directly, a meditative technique the fox had taught him years ago. Within this mental space, he stood before the massive nine-tailed fox, who lounged in what appeared to be a forest clearing rather than the cage that had once imprisoned him. "We should discuss what happens next," Izuku said, sitting cross-legged before his partner. "UA will be watching me closely after what they saw in the entrance exam." Kurama nodded, his massive head resting on his paws. "Indeed, you've revealed more of your abilities than we planned. The question is how to explain them. I could say it's a quirk that manifested late, possible, but medical records would contradict that. You lack the extra toe joint typical of quirkless individuals in this world, but you also lack the brainwave patterns associated with quirk activation. Izuku frowned, thinking deeply. What if we don't explain it at all? Many heroes keep the exact nature of their powers secret for tactical advantage. The fox's lips curled into what might have been a smile. Now you're thinking like a shinobi. Misdirection and secrecy can be powerful tools. Let them form their own theories. But I won't lie if directly questioned, Izuku added firmly. Of course not. You'll simply omit certain details. Like my existence. Kurama's tail swished thoughtfully. For now at least. The first day of school arrived with cherry blossoms swirling in the spring breeze. Izuku stood before Yue's imposing entrance in his new uniform, a mixture of excitement and nervousness churning in his stomach. Deep breaths, Kit, Kurama reminded him. Remember, you earned your place here. Izuku nodded slightly and stepped forward, only to hear a familiar voice behind him. Move it, Deku. He turned to see Katsuki Bakugo glaring at him, hands shoved deep in his pockets to hide the small explosions popping from his palms. A habit when he was agitated. Good morning, Kakin. Izuku greeted him evenly. Congratulations on getting in. Bakugo's scowl deepened. Don't act friendly with me. I still don't know what trick you pulled at the entrance exam, but I'm going to expose you for the fraud you are. Charming as ever, Kurama commented dryly. Despite the fox's sarcasm, Izuku maintained his composure. Years of Kurama's guidance had taught him to control his emotions, especially around Bakugo. It wasn't a trick, he said simply. I've been training. See you in class. He walked away, leaving a fuming Bakugo behind. Inside, he located Class 1A and slid open the door to find several students already gathered. A tall, blue-haired boy with engines in his calves was lecturing Bakugo, who had somehow arrived before him. Disgraceful to put your feet on the desk. Have you no respect for the craftsman who made it or the alumni who used it before you? Get lost, for eyes, Bakugo growled. The blue-haired student noticed Izuku and immediately approached, his movements robotically precise. Good morning. I am Tenya Ida from Semi-Private Academy. Izuku Midoriya, he replied with a slight bow. Nice to meet you, Ida. Recognition flashed in Ida's eyes. Midoriya, you're the one who destroyed the zero-pointer. I must admit, I misjudged you during the exam. You perceived the true nature of the test while I did not. Before Izuku could respond, another familiar voice joined the conversation. Oh, it's you. The boy who saved me. He turned to see Uraraka entering the classroom, her round face bright with excitement. I'm glad you made it in, she continued. I wanted to thank you properly for rescuing me. Those copies of yourself were amazing. What kind of quirk is that? The question drew attention from several classmates who looked up with interest. Even Bakugo seemed to be listening, though he pretended not to be. Careful, Kurama warned. It's complicated, Izuku began. I can create solid duplicates of myself and enhance my physical abilities. The doctors had trouble classifying it. It wasn't a lie, just not the whole truth. Further questions were cut short by a dry voice from the doorway. If you're here to make friends, you should have gone to a different department. The students turned to see a man in a black outfit lying on the floor in a yellow sleeping bag. He unzipped himself and stood, revealing bloodshot eyes and an unkempt appearance. I'm Shota Aizawa, your homeroom teacher, he announced without enthusiasm. Put these on and meet me at the P grounds. Don't waste time. He tossed a bundle of gym uniforms into the room before shuffling out. 20 minutes later, Class 1 stood assembled in their blue and white tracksuits, confused as to why they were outside instead of attending an orientation ceremony. Today we're conducting a quirk apprehension test, Aizawa explained, his tone flat. In this country, it's still irrational how physical education is conducted without allowing quirks. The Department of Education is procrastinating. He turned to Bakugo. You scored highest in the practical entrance exam among those admitted through normal means. How far could you throw a softball in middle school? 67 meters, Bakugo answered. Aizawa handed him a ball. Try using your quirk this time. As long as you stay in the circle, anything goes. Bakugo grinned savagely, winding up before launching the ball with an explosive die. The softball soared through the air, trailing smoke. 705.2 meters, Aizawa announced, showing a measuring device. The class erupted in excitement, but Aizawa silenced them with a stern look. We'll be conducting 8 physical tests to assess your potential. And to motivate you properly. His lips curved into a sadistic smile. The student who scores lowest overall will be judged hopeless and expelled. A collective gasp rippled through the group. Izuku, however, remained calm. With chakra at his disposal, He knew he could perform well in physical tests. Don't show everything, Kurama advised. But don't hold back too much either. This teacher is more perceptive than he appears. The first test was a 50-meter dash. When Izuku's turn came, he channeled a moderate amount of chakra to his legs, enough to be impressive without revealing his full capabilities. 3.89 seconds. The measuring robot announced as he crossed the finish line. The result placed him third, behind only a girl who created equipment with her quirk and a boy with engines in his legs. Bakugo scowled at being outperformed. For the grip strength test, Izuku channeled chakra to his hands, achieving a respectable 120 kilograms. Strong, but not superhuman enough to raise too many eyebrows. The standing long jump was easier to moderate. He used just enough chakra to clear the sandbox without seeming to fly. Throughout the tests, Aizawa watched him with increasing interest. During the repeated side jumps, the teacher actually activated his quirk, Erasure, and stared directly at Izuku. He's trying to erase your abilities, Kurama noted with amusement. But chakra isn't a quirk. It won't work. Izuku continued his side jumps unaffected, further puzzling the homeroom teacher. The ball throw provided the biggest challenge for maintaining his cover. After seeing Uraraka achieve infinity by making the ball weightless, Izuku knew a merely good throw wouldn't be impressive. As he stepped into the circle, he decided on a compromise. He would use chakra, but in a way that looked like a straightforward enhancement quirk. Channeling chakra to his arm, he threw the ball with careful precision. Enough force to be remarkable without matching Bakugo's explosive display. 545.8 meters, the device reported. Aizawa's eyes narrowed. Midoriya, he called out as Izuku returned to the group. Your quirk registration lists you as quirkless. The entire class fell silent. Even Bakugo, who had been fuming about Izuku's performance, looked shocked. Is that true? Uraraka asked, eyes wide. But how did you? I don't have a quirk, Izuku confirmed calmly. At least, not one that registers on standard tests. Then explain what you're doing, Aizawa demanded. I tried to erase your abilities, but they remained active. Izuku met his teacher's gaze steadily. It's energy manipulation, sir. I've been training since I was 4. The doctors couldn't explain it either. It wasn't a complete explanation, but it wasn't a lie. Aizawa studied him for a long moment before turning away. We'll discuss this further later. Continue with the tests. The remaining assessments passed without incident, though Izuku could feel his classmates' curious glances. Some seemed impressed, others suspicious, particularly Bakugo, whose expression had transformed from shock to rage. When all 8 tests were complete, Aizawa displayed the final rankings on a holographic screen. Izuku had placed 4th overall, behind only Momo Yaoyorozu, Shoto Todoroki, and Katsuki Bakugo. By the way, Aizawa said as the class examined their scores, I was lying about expelling someone. It was a logical ruse to draw out your full potential. While some students expressed relief or outrage at the deception, Izuku noticed Aizawa's gaze lingering on him thoughtfully. He'll be watching you closely from now on, Kurama observed. As they walked back to the classroom, Izuku found himself surrounded by curious classmates. Dude, if you're really quirkless, that's insane, exclaimed a red-haired boy who had introduced himself as Eijiro Kirishima. So manly to train yourself to that level. How exactly does your energy manipulation work? Asked Momo Yaoyorozu, the class's top scorer. Is it similar to the chi control described in ancient martial arts texts? Can you teach me? Mineta, the shortest student, asked eagerly. Before Izuku could respond to any of them, Bakugo shoved his way through the group, grabbing Izuku's collar. You've been lying all these years? He snarled, small explosions popping from his palms. What the hell are you, Deku? Izuku remained calm, gently removing Bakugo's hand with a chakra-enhanced grip that the explosive boy couldn't break. I never lied, Kakin, he replied quietly. I don't have a quirk. I just found another way. Bakugo yanked his hand back, his expression a mixture of fury and confusion. This isn't over, he growled before storming ahead. That one has issues, Kurama commented. He's always defined himself by being superior to others, Izuku replied mentally. Especially me. This challenges his entire worldview. As they re-entered the school building, Izuku felt a hand on his shoulder. He turned to find Aizawa waiting for him. My office. After school, the teacher said simply before walking away. The rest of the day passed in a blur of introductory lessons and orientation activities. When the final bell rang, Izuku made his way to Aizawa's office as instructed. The underground hero was waiting, his bloodshot eyes fixed on a file open on his desk.
"Sit," he commanded, gesturing to a chair. Izuku complied, maintaining the composed demeanor that years of Kurama's guidance had instilled in him.
"I've reviewed your medical records." Aizawa began without preamble. "Multiple quirk specialists confirmed you were quirkless. No quirk factor in your DNA, no extra joint in your pinky toe, no brainwave patterns consistent with quirk activation." He closed the file and leaned forward. "Yet today I watched you perform feats that should be impossible without a quirk. When I tried to erase your abilities, nothing happened." "Explain." "Partial truth," Kurama advised. "He's too sharp to be fooled by vague answers." Izuku took a deep breath. "What I use isn't a quirk, sir. It's a form of energy that exists in everyone, but most people never learn to access it. I call it chakra."
"Chakra," Aizawa repeated flatly. "Like in mystical Eastern traditions?"
"Similar, but real and quantifiable. It's a combination of physical and spiritual energy that circulates through the body in a network similar to blood vessels. With training, it can be channeled and manipulated for various effects."
Aizawa's expression remained skeptical. "And you discovered this chakra system on your own?"
Izuku hesitated. This was where the partial truth became necessary. "I had guidance," he said carefully. "When I was diagnosed as quirkless, I was devastated. But then I discovered I could sense and manipulate this energy. I've been training ever since." "Guidance from whom?" "Careful," Kurama warned.
"I'd rather not say, sir. It's personal." Aizawa's eyes narrowed slightly, but he didn't press the issue. "The abilities you showed at the entrance exam, creating solid duplicates, enhanced strength, that spiraling energy attack that destroyed the zero-pointer, these are all applications of this chakra?"
Izuku nodded. "Yes, sir. Different techniques require different levels of control and different ways of molding the energy." "And could others learn these techniques?" Another tricky question. Theoretically, anyone in this world could learn to use chakra with proper instruction. But without a tailed beast's guidance, it would take years of dedicated training just to master the basics. "Possibly," Izuku answered. "But it took me 10 years of daily practice to reach this level. Most people would give up long before seeing results." Aizawa considered this for a long moment. "Your abilities don't violate any school regulations, since they're not technically a quirk being used illegally. And you earned your place here fairly." He leaned back in his chair. "I won't pry further for now, but understand this, Midoriya. If I discover you're hiding something that endangers your classmates or this institution, there will be consequences."
"Understood, sir."
As Izuku stood to leave, Aizawa added, "One more thing. Whatever this power is, it makes you unique, but not special. You're still a student with much to learn about being a hero. Remember that." "Yes, sir. I will."
Walking home that evening, Izuku processed the day's events. His abilities had drawn more attention than he'd anticipated, and keeping Kurama's existence secret would be challenging if teachers and classmates continued to probe.
"You handled yourself well," Kurama said, breaking into his thoughts. "Aizawa suspects there's more to your story, but he won't push unless given reason to. And Kaken?"
"The explosive one will be trouble. His pride won't let him accept your strength easily."
Izuku nodded slightly. "Tomorrow is battle training with All Might. Kaken will definitely come after me." "Then we'll be ready," Kurama replied, a hint of excitement in his growling voice. "It's time to show them what a Jinchuriki can really do." The next day brought clear skies and mounting anticipation as Class 1A gathered for their first hero basic training session. The classroom buzzed with excitement when All Might burst through the door in his Silver Age costume, his perpetual smile gleaming. "I am here." Coming through the door like a normal person, nothing about his entrance was normal, but the students erupted in cheers nonetheless. The symbol of peace struck a pose before explaining the day's exercise. Indoor battle training. Most villain encounters occur indoors. All Might boomed. You'll be divided into hero and villain teams for 2-on-2 battles. The scenario: villains have hidden a nuclear weapon in their hideout, and heroes must recover it or capture the villains. Villains win by protecting the weapon until time runs out or capturing the heroes.
He directed the class to change into their hero costumes and meet at training ground beta. Izuku's own costume was relatively simple, a dark green jumpsuit with reinforced padding, sturdy boots, and arm and leg guards. The design allowed for maximum mobility while providing basic protection. No flashy symbols or unnecessary decorations, Kurama had advised during the design process. A shinobi values function over appearance.
At the training ground, All Might directed everyone to draw lots to determine teams. Izuku found himself paired with Uraraka, much to her delight.
"We're a team," she exclaimed, her pink-cheeked smile bright beneath her space-themed helmet. "That's so great." "Yeah," Izuku agreed with a smile. "Your gravity quirk has a lot of potential applications." As All Might drew more lots to determine matchups, Izuku felt a wave of anticipation when their opponents were announced. Team D, consisting of Katsuki Bakugo and Tenya Ida. Bakugo's eyes locked with his, a predatory grin spreading across his face. The explosive boy was clearly eager for a chance to fight him directly. "He's been waiting for this," Kurama observed. "A chance to prove his superiority." Team A will be heroes, Team D villains. All Might announced. "Villains, enter the building first and prepare. Heroes, you'll have 5 minutes to strategize before starting."
As Bakugo and Ida departed for the 5-story concrete building, Izuku turned to Uraraka. "We should make a plan. Bakugo will almost certainly come after me directly. He has a personal grudge. Ida will likely stay with the weapon."
Uraraka nodded seriously. "I noticed that too. Bakugo kept glaring at you."
"That gives us an advantage. If we can predict his movements, we can counter them." Izuku pulled out a small notebook and quickly sketched the building's layout. "Here's what I'm thinking." Inside the building, Bakugo was seething with barely contained rage. "That damn Deku," he growled, pacing around the room where their nuclear weapon, a large papier-mâché missile, was placed, acting all high and mighty with his fake quirk or whatever it is.
Ida, already fully embracing his villain role, adjusted his armored helmet. "Bakugo, we should focus on strategy rather than personal grudges. As villains, our priority is protecting the weapon. You stay here and guard it," Bakugo snapped. "I'm going to find Deku and crush him."
"That's exactly what they'll expect," Ida protested. "We should stay together and I don't care what they expect. That lying bastard has been looking down on me for years, hiding his power. It's time he learned his place."
Before Ida could argue further, All Might's voice boomed through their communication devices. "Indoor battle training. Begin."
Outside the building, Izuku and Uraraka prepared to enter. They had agreed on a plan. Uraraka would use her zero gravity to move silently through the upper floors, searching for the weapon, while Izuku would draw Bakugo's attention and keep him occupied. "Remember," Izuku said as they approached a ground floor window, "if you find the weapon, contact me immediately. Don't engage Ida alone unless you're certain you can touch the weapon." Uraraka nodded, determination replacing her usual cheerfulness. "Got it." Izuku helped her through the window, then created 2 shadow clones with minimal smoke, a refinement he'd been practicing.
"Search the building," he instructed the clones. "Stay hidden and gather information."
As his duplicates moved stealthily through different corridors, Izuku himself proceeded down the main hallway, senses alert for any sign of Bakugo. "He's coming," Kurama warned, his sensory abilities detecting the approach of angry footsteps, fast from the right corridor. His heart rate is elevated, he's not thinking clearly.
Izuku nodded slightly, shifting his stance to prepare for the encounter. Seconds later, Bakugo burst around the corner, his grenade-shaped gauntlets gleaming under the fluorescent lights.
"Deku!" he roared, launching himself forward with an explosion from his palm.
Izuku sidestepped the attack with chakra-enhanced speed, allowing Bakugo to sail past him. "Kaken, we don't have to fight. This is just an exercise."
"Shut up." Bakugo pivoted, his expression murderous. "You've been hiding your power all these years, making a fool of me. No more looking down on me with that pitying expression." He unleashed another explosion larger than the first. Izuku leapt over it, sticking to the ceiling momentarily before dropping back down.
"I never looked down on you," Izuku replied calmly. "I've always admired your strength and determination." "Liar." Bakugo launched a sweeping explosion that filled the corridor. Izuku formed a quick hand seal.
"Shadow Clone Jutsu."
3 clones appeared, taking the brunt of the blast while Izuku himself ducked into a side room. The clones dispersed in puffs of smoke, momentarily obscuring Bakugo's vision.
In the monitoring room, All Might and the rest of Class 1A watched the battle with rapt attention.
"Young Midoriya is surprisingly calm despite young Bakugo's ferocity," All Might commented.
"Those clone things are so cool," Mina Ashido exclaimed. "They took the hit for him." Todoroki, watching silently, narrowed his heterochromatic eyes. "He's holding back. Notice how he's not using that spiral energy attack from the entrance exam." Back in the battle, Izuku emerged from the side room as Bakugo stormed through the smoke of the dispersed clones.
"Fight me seriously, damn it," Bakugo demanded. "Stop running away."
"I'm not running," Izuku replied, adopting a fighting stance Kurama had taught him. Balanced, centered, ready to move in any direction. But I won't let your personal feelings derail our mission either. This only enraged Bakugo further. He charged forward, right arm cocked back for a powerful blast. Die! Instead of dodging, Izuku channeled chakra to his hands and caught Bakugo's wrist, redirecting the explosion harmlessly past his shoulder. In the same fluid motion, he stepped inside Bakugo's guard and delivered a chakra-enhanced palm strike to his solar plexus. The blow sent Bakugo skidding backward, gasping for breath. Before he could recover, Izuku pressed forward with a series of precise taijutsu strikes. Not powerful enough to cause serious injury, but fast and accurate enough to keep Bakugo off balance.
What the hell is this fighting style? Bakugo managed between parries and blocked strikes.
Izuku didn't answer, maintaining his focus. Within his mindscape, Kurama guided his movements. He's favoring his right side for explosions. Counter with a sweep to his left leg. Following the fox's instruction, Izuku dropped low and swept Bakugo's legs from under him. As the explosive boy fell, Izuku pulled out the capture tape All Might had provided. But Bakugo was far from defeated. He used an explosion to propel himself away before Izuku could secure the tape, then readjusted his gauntlets with a sinister grin. "You know what these are?" he asked, pulling a pin from one gauntlet. "They've been storing my sweat, nitroglycerin-like sweat, for one massive blast. Move!"
Kurama barked in Izuku's mind.
Izuku leapt backward just as Bakugo unleashed an enormous explosion that tore through the corridor, shattering windows and cracking walls. Young Bakugo ceased that action immediately. All Might's voice commanded through their communicators. "You'll kill him. He won't die if he dodges." Bakugo shouted back, advancing through the smoke with his remaining gauntlet primed.
Izuku had managed to avoid the worst of the blast by channeling chakra throughout his body, creating a rudimentary protective layer. Still, his costume was singed and he could feel burns on his exposed skin.
"Enough restraint," Kurama growled. "Show him what you can really do." As Bakugo prepared another attack, Izuku formed a familiar hand seal. Multi-shadow clone jutsu.
20 clones appeared in a large cloud of smoke, filling the corridor and surrounding rooms. Bakugo's eyes widened at the sheer number of far more than Izuku had created during previous exercises.
What the?
Before he could finish, the clones attacked in perfect coordination. While some engaged Bakugo directly, others moved to flank and disorient him. The real Izuku hung back, hands moving through another sequence of seals. Water-style, water bullet jutsu. A compressed jet of water shot from Izuku's mouth, hitting Bakugo's remaining gauntlet and soaking the nitroglycerin sweat inside, rendering it temporarily useless.
Bakugo howled in frustration, using smaller explosions from his palms to fend off the clone assault. "Fight me yourself, you coward." "I am," Izuku replied calmly as he stepped through his clones, a swirling ball of chakra forming in his right hand. Rasengan.
He thrust the technique forward, not directly at Bakugo but at the floor beneath him. The spinning chakra drilled through the concrete, creating a circular hole that Bakugo barely avoided falling through.
While the explosive boy regained his balance, Izuku dashed forward and finally managed to wrap the capture tape around Bakugo's wrist. "Bakugo has been captured," All Might's voice announced. Bakugo stood frozen, staring at the tape on his arm in disbelief. No way, it's over, Kaken," Izuku said quietly. "You're strong, one of the strongest people I know. But strength alone isn't everything."
Before Bakugo could respond, Uraraka's voice came through Izuku's communicator. "Deku, I found the weapon, but Ida's too fast. I can't get close."
"On my way," Izuku replied. He turned to Bakugo, who was still staring at the capture tape. "You should come too. See how the mission ends."
In the weapon room on the top floor, Ida was zipping around at high speed, keeping Uraraka at bay. He had cleared all loose objects from the room to prevent her from using them with her quirk. "Your quirk is indeed formidable, hero," he declared in an exaggerated villain voice. "But I have adapted to counter it perfectly."
Uraraka was trying to touch the floor to use her quirk on herself, but Ida kept interrupting her attempts. "Just wait, Deku's coming," she called back. "Your partner won't save you. Bakugo will defeat him." At that moment, the door opened to reveal Izuku, with a subdued Bakugo trailing behind. "Bakugo has been captured," Izuku announced calmly. Ida's jaw dropped behind his helmet. "Impossible. Bakugo, how could you fail?" Taking advantage of the distraction, Izuku quickly formed hand seals. Shadow Clone Jutsu. 5 clones appeared and immediately spread out across the room. Ida recovered quickly, using his engines to dash between them, dispersing two with powerful kicks.
"Your duplicates cannot match my speed, Midoriya," he declared. "They don't need to," Izuku replied with a small smile.
Ida realized too late that the clones were merely a distraction. While he focused on them, the real Izuku had created a sixth clone that transformed into a perfect copy of Uraraka. The real Uraraka had used her quirk on herself and was floating silently toward the ceiling, directly above the weapon.
As Ida dispersed another clone, Uraraka released her quirk and dropped onto the weapon, hugging it tightly.
Weapon secured. All Might's voice boomed. Hero team wins. Back in the monitoring room, the class erupted in cheers and excited chatter. "That was amazing," Kirishima exclaimed. "Did you see how many clones he made? And that water attack?" Tsuyu Azui added, finger to her chin. "Karo, I thought he could only enhance his physical abilities and make copies."
Momo Yaoyorozu was scribbling notes furiously. His fighting style incorporates elements from multiple martial arts traditions, but with movements I've never seen before. And that spiraling energy attack, it appears to drill rather than explode. Fascinating. All Might watched thoughtfully as the combatants made their way back to the monitoring room. Young Midoriya's abilities went far beyond what his file suggested. The transformation from the nervous, quirkless boy who had applied to UA to this confident, skilled fighter was remarkable.
When the teams returned, All Might led the class in analyzing the battle. He praised Uraraka's creativity, Ida's dedication to his role, and Bakugo's raw power, though he admonished him for the excessive use of his gauntlets. And young Midoriya, All Might concluded, showed excellent tactical thinking and remarkable control of his unique abilities. Throughout the analysis, Bakugo remained uncharacteristically silent, his eyes fixed on the floor. When dismissed, he stormed out ahead of the others, ignoring calls from his classmates.
Izuku watched him go with a mixture of concern and resignation. "Should I go after him?" he asked Kurama. "Give him time," the fox advised. "Some wounds to pride need solitude to heal." As the class headed back to change, Todoroki approached Izuku.
"Your power," the dual quirk user said without preamble. "It's not a quirk, is it?" Izuku met his mismatched gaze steadily. "No, it's not. I see." Todoroki's expression remained unreadable. "Interesting." He walked away without another word, leaving Izuku puzzled by the brief exchange. "That one has his own secrets," Kurama observed. "And he recognized something familiar in you, someone who doesn't fit the normal categories." After changing back into their school uniforms, the class dispersed for the day. Izuku found himself walking to the station with Ida and Uraraka, who were full of questions about his techniques. "The way you stick to surfaces. It's similar to how some climbing animals use microscopic hairs on their feet, but you seem to do it with pure energy control," Ida theorized, hands chopping the air enthusiastically.
"And those water bullets," Uraraka added. "Can you create other elements too?" Izuku smiled, explaining what he could without revealing Kurama's existence. "The chakra system allows for manipulation of natural elements with proper training. I've mostly focused on water techniques so far, but fire, earth, lightning, and wind are also possible in theory."
Their excited chatter continued until they reached the station, where they parted ways with promises to continue the conversation tomorrow. As Izuku walked the final stretch home alone, he sensed a presence behind him. Turning, he found Bakugo standing there, hands in his pockets, expression stormy but contained.
"Kaken, fight me again," Bakugo demanded without preamble. "Not in class. For real."
Izuku considered the request. "I don't think that's a good idea. We're classmates now, training to be heroes together." "I don't care. I need to know." Bakugo's voice faltered slightly before hardening again. "I need to know where I stand. If all these years you've been looking down on me, hiding your power." "I wasn't," Izuku interrupted gently. "I admire you, Kaken. I always have. Your determination, your confidence, your refusal to give up. Those are qualities of a true hero." Bakugo's eyes widened slightly before narrowing again. "Then why hide what you could do? Why pretend to be quirkless?" Izuku sighed. "I wasn't pretending. What I have isn't a quirk, and I didn't master it overnight. It took years of training, every day, often in secret because I didn't want people to think I was crazy for believing I could be a hero without a quirk."
He met Bakugo's gaze directly. "I didn't tell you because we weren't friends anymore. You made that clear every day." The words hung in the air between them, heavy with years of complicated history. Finally, Bakugo turned away.
"This isn't over, Deku. I'm gonna keep getting stronger, and next time I'll win." As he walked away, Izuku called after him, "I'll be getting stronger too." Bakugo paused briefly, then continued without looking back, raising one hand in what might have been acknowledgement. "That went better than expected," Kurama commented as Izuku resumed his walk home. "No explosions, at least. He's proud, but he's not stupid," Izuku replied. Today was a wake-up call for him. He'll train harder than ever now. "As will you," Kurama reminded him. "This is just the beginning of your journey at UA. There will be many more challenges ahead." Izuku nodded, a determined smile spreading across his face. "I'm ready for them." In his office at UA, Aizawa reviewed the footage of the battle trial, pausing occasionally to make notes. The display showed Izuku creating multiple shadow clones, performing water techniques, and generating that peculiar spiraling energy attack. "Energy manipulation," he murmured skeptically. "If that's really all it is, then why the hand signs? Why the specific techniques that seem to follow consistent rules?" He tapped his pen against the desk thoughtfully. "That kid. He's not like the others." The underground hero closed the file and leaned back in his chair. Whatever secrets Midoriya was hiding, Aizawa would discover them eventually. For now, he would watch and wait. Outside, the sun set over UA High School, casting long shadows across the campus. Izuku Midoriya had taken his first steps on the path to becoming a hero unlike any this world had seen before. A path illuminated by the ancient wisdom and power of the nine-tailed fox. And somewhere within the boy's consciousness, Kurama smiled, remembering another determined young ninja from a different world who had also defied all expectations. Perhaps the fox thought this partnership will be even more interesting than the last. The morning after the battle trial, Izuku woke before his alarm. Sunlight filtered through his curtains as he sat cross-legged on his bed, eyes closed in meditation. Within his mindscape, he stood before Kurama in a vast forest clearing, a space that had evolved over the years from the dark sewer of their first meetings to this peaceful natural setting. "Your performance yesterday was adequate," Kurama remarked, his massive tail swishing lazily behind him. "But you relied too heavily on shadow clones." "They're effective," Izuku replied, looking up at his partner. "And versatile," the fox snorted. "They were Naruto's crutch too. A useful technique, certainly, but predictable if overused. You need to expand your arsenal." Izuku nodded thoughtfully. "What do you suggest?" "It's time to refine your elemental affinities. Your water techniques are decent, but fire and wind remain underdeveloped." "Fire style has always been difficult for me," Izuku admitted. "It doesn't come as naturally as water." Kurama's eyes gleamed. "That's because you think too much. Fire requires passion, instinct. Not everything can be approached with your analytical mindset." Before Izuku could respond, his alarm blared, pulling him from the meditative state. As he prepared for school, Kurama's words lingered in his mind. At UA, the day proceeded normally until lunch when Izuku found himself surrounded by curious classmates at the cafeteria table. "Dude, those moves yesterday were insane," Kirishima exclaimed, punching the air enthusiastically. "Those clones that spiral attack, so manly." "The Rasengan," Izuku corrected with a small smile. "How exactly does your energy system work?" Yaoyorozu asked, notebook open beside her lunch tray. "Is it fundamentally different from Quirk energy?" Izuku considered his response carefully. "It's called CHAKRA. It's a combination of physical and spiritual energy that flows through specific pathways in the body. With practice, anyone could theoretically learn to use it." "Anyone?" Kaminari's eyes widened. "Even quirkless people?" "Especially quirkless people," Izuku confirmed. "Without a quirk using up your body's energy, you can dedicate more to chakra development." This sparked excited chatter around the table. Only Todoroki remained silent, watching Izuku with unreadable heterochromatic eyes. "Could you teach us?" Uraraka asked eagerly. "Careful," Kurama warned within his mind. "Basic chakra control might be possible for them, but without proper guidance, it could be dangerous." Izuku nodded slightly in acknowledgement of the fox's caution. "Maybe some basics someday," he told his classmates. "But it took me years of daily practice to reach this level." The conversation shifted to the upcoming rescue training scheduled for the next day at a facility called the Unforeseen Simulation Joint. According to Ishido, who had overheard teachers talking, a pro hero specializing in rescue operations would be supervising. "I wonder who it could be," Ciro mused. 13? Backdraft? As his classmates speculated, Izuku felt Kurama stir within him. "Something wrong?" he asked silently. "Just a feeling," the fox replied. "This rescue training, be on your guard. You sense something?" "Not yet. Call it experience." Peaceful days rarely last long in the life of a Jinchuriki. Izuku wanted to question him further, but Ida was suddenly standing, announcing that lunch period was nearly over. As the class made their way back to the classroom, Bakugo shouldered past Izuku without comment. His expression stormy but controlled. He's still processing his defeat, Kurama observed. He'll come back stronger, Izuku replied mentally. That's who Kaken is. The rest of the day passed uneventfully. As Izuku trained that evening in the secluded clearing he'd claimed years ago, he focused on Kurama's suggestion to develop his fire techniques. Feel the heat within your chakra, Kurama instructed as Izuku formed the tiger seal. Imagine it intensifying, condensing, until it burns to be released. Izuku concentrated, molding his chakra as directed. Fire style, fireball jutsu. He exhaled sharply, producing a flame barely larger than a campfire that quickly dissipated in the evening air. Pathetic, Kurama grumbled. You're thinking too much about the mechanics and not enough about the essence of fire. What does that even mean? Izuku asked, slightly frustrated. Fire is alive, Kit. It hungers, it grows, it consumes. You can't approach it like your water techniques with precise control and measured output. Fire demands passion. Izuku wiped sweat from his brow. I'll try again. For the next hour, he practiced repeatedly, making marginal improvements with each attempt. By the time darkness fell, he could produce a respectable fireball, though nothing approaching the massive techniques Kurama described from his world. It's a start, the fox conceded as Izuku made his way home. Tomorrow, after your rescue training, we'll work on wind manipulation. Your affinity there is stronger. Izuku nodded, feeling the pleasant exhaustion that came with productive training. Neither he nor Kurama could have predicted how drastically their plans would change. The next morning, Class 1A gathered outside UA, boarding a bus that would take them to the unforeseen simulation joint. Aizawa led them, his usual tired expression masking his vigilance. On the bus, the students chatted excitedly about rescue operations and hero work. Azui, sitting beside Izuku, turned to him with her direct gaze. Midoriya, I always say what's on my mind, she began bluntly. Your abilities remind me of All Might's. Izuku blinked in surprise. What makes you say that? The raw power, the speed, that golden energy during the entrance exam when you were falling. She tilted her head. Though your techniques are more varied, my abilities work completely differently from All Might's, Izuku explained. His quirk enhances his physical body directly. My chakra is external energy I manipulate. Still, Kirishima joined in. You both have that same aura of absolute strength, though your fighting style is way more technical. The conversation continued, with various classmates commenting on each other's quirks and combat potential. Izuku noticed Bakugo remaining unusually quiet, staring out the window with a contemplative scowl. He's reassessing everything, Kurama noted. Your victory forced him to reconsider his assumptions. Good, Izuku thought back. Kaken has amazing potential. He just needs to move past his ego. As the bus approached the USJ, Kurama suddenly tensed within Izuku's consciousness. What is it? Izuku asked silently. I'm not sure, the fox replied, his mental voice sharp with alertness. Something doesn't feel right. Stay vigilant. The massive domed facility came into view, and minutes later the class filed out of the bus. Inside, they were greeted by the space hero, 13, whose specialized rescue quirk made them the perfect instructor for this exercise. As 13 began explaining the various disaster zones within the facility, Kurama's unease grew stronger. Kit, he warned, something's wrong. I sense malevolence. Multiple presences with killing intent. Izuku tensed, scanning the facility. Nothing seemed out of place, but he trusted Kurama's senses. The fox had survived centuries by detecting danger before it arrived. He was about to alert Aizawa when the lights throughout the facility suddenly flickered and died. In the center of the plaza, the air itself seemed to warp and darken as a swirling vortex of black mist materialized. Stay together, Aizawa commanded sharply, pulling his goggles into place. 13. Protect the students. From the portal, figures began to emerge, dozens, then scores of them. Men and women of varying appearances, all sharing the same predatory expressions and hostile intent. Is this part of the training? Kirishima asked uncertainly. No, Aizawa replied grimly. Those are villains. At the center of the group, a lean figure with light blue hair stepped forward. His most distinctive feature was the disembodied hand gripping his face like a macabre mask. Beside him towered a massive, muscular creature with exposed brain tissue and a beak-like mouth. Villains? Yayarosa gasped. Here?
How did they get past the security system?
Doesn't matter, Aizawa said, his capture weapon unfurling. Their timing, their numbers. This is a planned attack. He turned to 13. Get the students out of here. I'll hold them off. But sensei, Izuku began. There are too many. I'm a pro. Aizawa cut him off. This is what we do. With that, he leapt down the stairs toward the horde of villains, his capture weapon whipping through the air as he engaged multiple opponents simultaneously. 13. Get everyone to the exit. Izuku called out, taking initiative. We need to contact the school. As the class began retreating toward the entrance, the black mist suddenly expanded, materializing directly in their path as a towering cloud with glowing yellow eyes. I'm afraid I can't allow that. The mist spoke in a deep, resonant voice. Greetings, UA students. We are the League of Villains. Forgive our audacity, but today, we've come to end the symbol of peace, All Might.
Where's he? The hand-covered villain called from below. The schedule said he'd be here. Did something change? His voice held a disturbing childlike petulance. 13 stepped forward, opening one of their finger caps to unleash their black hole quirk, but before they could act, Bakugo and Kirishima launched themselves at the mist villain with explosive force. Move aside. Cannon fodder. Bakugo roared, detonating a massive blast. When the smoke cleared, the mist villain appeared completely unharmed. That was close, he remarked. Students you may be, but you're still the golden eggs of the hero world. His misty form suddenly expanded explosively. Now, scatter and be tortured to death. The black fog engulfed the students before anyone could react. Izuku felt himself lifted and thrown through space, Kurama's chakra instinctively flaring to protect him as reality warped around them. Hold on, Kit! The fox growled as they tumbled through darkness. Seconds later, Izuku crashed into water. The shock of cold disoriented him momentarily before he regained his bearings, realizing he'd been teleported to the USJ's shipwreck zone, a massive pool with a sinking vessel at its center. As he began channeling chakra to stay afloat, dark shapes moved beneath him. A villain with shark-like features burst from the water, jagged teeth bared in a predatory grin. Looks like we caught a little fish, the villain cackled, lunging forward with webbed hands extended. Izuku's hands flashed through seals. Water-style water wall, a circular barrier of water rose around him, hardened by chakra, repelling the villain's attack. Without pausing, Izuku formed another set of seals. Water-style, water prison jutsu, a sphere of water encased the shark villain, who thrashed in surprise as he found himself trapped. Two more villains surfaced nearby, their expressions changing from confidence to uncertainty as they witnessed their comrade's predicament. What kind of quirk is that? One muttered. Doesn't matter, the other replied, his arms transforming into blade-like appendages. Kill the kid. They rushed forward simultaneously. Izuku released the water prison, freeing one hand to form a cross seal. Shadow clone jutsu. For perfect duplicates appeared on the water's surface, each standing confidently on top of the liquid. The villains faltered at the sight. He's making copies and standing on water? Izuku and his clones moved in perfect coordination, attacking from multiple angles. The water-walking technique gave them a decisive advantage over the swimming villains, who couldn't match their mobility or perspective. Within minutes, all three attackers were unconscious, bound with capture tape Izuku had brought as a precaution. Too easy, Kurama commented. These are low-level thugs at best. But there are dozens of them, Izuku replied, scanning the facility from his vantage point. In the central plaza, he could see Aizawa still fighting multiple opponents simultaneously, his capture weapon whipping through the air as he systematically neutralized quirks and combatants. We need to help the others, Izuku decided, creating more shadow clones. Find our classmates, assist if needed, then report back. The clones nodded and dispersed, sprinting across the water in different directions. Izuku himself headed toward the central plaza, concerned for his teacher overriding caution. As he approached, he spotted Azui and Mineta emerging from the water nearby. Midoriya, Azui called, her large eyes widening in relief. Karo, you're okay. Su, Mineta. Izuku helped them onto dry land. Are you hurt? We're fine, Azui replied while Mineta trembled beside her. But those villains were trying to drown us. If I couldn't swim so well, we need to regroup with the others, Izuku said, creating another shadow clone. My clone will escort you toward the entrance. Stay hidden and move carefully. What about you?
Ajui asked. Izuku's expression hardened as he looked toward the plaza, where Aizawa continued to fight. I'm going to help Aizawa-sensei. That's crazy. Mineta squeaked. There are too many villains. Aizawa-sensei is fighting to protect us. Izuku replied firmly. I won't leave him alone. Before they could argue further, he channeled chakra to his legs and sprinted toward the battle, his speed leaving small craters in the ground with each step. In the plaza, Aizawa was beginning to slow. Despite his exceptional combat skills, fatigue was setting in as he faced opponent after opponent. His specialized fighting style wasn't designed for prolonged battles against multiple adversaries. The hand-covered villain observed from a distance, scratching his neck compulsively. He's good, he muttered, taking on so many with a non-combat quirk. But every hero has a weakness. As Aizawa bound another villain with his capture weapon, the leader suddenly rushed forward with surprising speed. Aizawa pivoted to face him, capturing Scarf ready, eyes glowing red as he activated his erasure. That quirk of yours, the villain remarked casually as he closed the distance. You have to keep looking at your target for it to work, right? And given the dryness of your eyes, there's a time limit to how long you can keep it active. He dodged a strike from Aizawa's capture weapon with unnatural agility. Not very useful against someone with physical enhancements, is it? Aizawa didn't respond, maintaining his professional focus as he engaged the villain directly with a series of precise strikes. Though the blue-haired man was fast, Aizawa's combat experience gave him the edge. He landed a solid hit that sent the villain stumbling backward. You're not as good as you think, Aizawa stated flatly. The villain straightened, revealing the disembodied hand had been knocked from his face. Rather than appearing concerned, he smiled, a disturbing expression on his partially exposed features. I'm not the one you should be worried about, Eraserhead. Too late. Aizawa sensed the massive presence behind him. He began to turn, but the muscular, brain-exposed creature moved with impossible speed, grabbing his arm with crushing force. Meet Nomu, the hand villain said almost gleefully, the bioengineered anti-symbol of peace. The creature, Nomu, wrenched Aizawa's arm backward with a sickening crack. The hero grunted in pain but maintained his composure, attempting to use his capture weapon with his free hand. Nomu responded by slamming Aizawa face-first into the concrete, creating a crater from the impact. His quirk is shock absorption, the villain explained conversationally, retrieving his fallen hand mask. Among others, he was specifically designed to kill All Might. Nomu lifted Aizawa again, preparing to slam him down once more when a green blur streaked across the plaza. Rasengan, the spiraling sphere of chakra slammed into Nomu's side with devastating force, creating a grinding vortex that tore through flesh before blasting the creature backwards several meters. Izuku landed in a crouch between Aizawa and the villains, his expression deadly serious. Midoriya, Aizawa managed through gritted teeth, his arm hanging at an unnatural angle. I ordered you to evacuate. With respect, Sensei, Izuku replied without taking his eyes off the villains. I couldn't leave you to die. The hand villain tilted his head, staring at Izuku with unsettling intensity. Interesting. Very interesting. What was that attack just now? I don't recognize that quirk. Nomu was already recovering, the wound in its side visibly healing as muscle and skin knitted back together. High-speed regeneration too? Izuku muttered, analyzing the situation quickly. Kurama, what are we dealing with? Something unnatural, the fox replied grimly. That creature has been modified extensively. Multiple quirks in one body shouldn't be possible. The hand villain scratched his neck more vigorously. Shigaraki Tamura, he introduced himself with mock politeness. And you are an unexpected variable. Nomu, kill him. Slowly, Nomu charged with frightening speed, its massive arm cocked back for a devastating blow. Izuku barely had time to form hand seals. Shadow Clone Jutsu. 10 clones appeared in a defensive formation around Aizawa. The real Izuku leapt backward as Nomu's fist pulverized the ground where he'd been standing. 2 clones immediately moved to protect and stabilize Aizawa, while the others engaged Nomu directly. Get Sensei to safety, Izuku commanded as he analyzed his opponent. The creature was impossibly strong and fast, with regeneration and shock absorption abilities that made conventional attacks ineffective. His clones attacked in coordinated patterns, but Nomu dispatched them effortlessly, each dispelling in puffs of smoke upon impact. The creature showed no signs of fatigue or pain, its vacant eyes focused solely on destruction. This thing isn't human anymore, Kurama observed. It's like a weaponized puppet. Shigaraki watched with increasing interest as Izuku evaded Nomu's attacks, his movements fluid and precise despite the creature's overwhelming power. "What are you?" the villain mused. "Those clones, that spinning attack, the way you move. It's like watching a character from a different game entirely." Izuku ignored the commentary, focusing on buying time. His clones had managed to move Aizawa to relative safety, but Nomu was relentless. Each time Izuku landed a hit, the creature absorbed the impact or healed almost instantly. "Physical attacks aren't working," Izuku thought to Kurama. "Even chakra-enhanced strikes barely slow it down. Then we need something that attacks from within," Kurama replied. "Or overwhelms its absorption capacity." Izuku nodded slightly, forming new hand seals. Wind style, Gale Palm, a concentrated blast of wind chakra shot from his hands, hitting Nomu with enough force to stagger it momentarily. Following immediately, Izuku formed more seals. Fire style, Fireball Jutsu, the fireball, enhanced by the preceding wind, expanded explosively upon contact with Nomu, engulfing the creature in intensified flames. For a moment, the plaza glowed with orange light as the inferno raged. When the flames cleared, Nomu stood largely unaffected, its charred skin already regenerating. "Did you think a little fire would work?" Shigaraki called, clearly amused. Nomu was designed to take attacks from All Might himself. The creature lunged forward with even greater speed than before, catching Izuku off guard. A massive fist connected with his midsection, sending him crashing through a nearby fountain. Pain radiated through Izuku's body as he struggled to his feet, water dripping from his hair and costume. The blow would have killed an ordinary person, but chakra reinforcement had saved him from the worst of it. "That hurt," he muttered, wiping blood from his lip. "Kit!" Kurama's voice had taken on a serious tone Izuku rarely heard. "We need to stop holding back. That thing is designed to kill All Might, and it's not hesitating to use lethal force against you." "What are you suggesting?" "My chakra. The real thing, not just the small amounts you've been using. It's time to show these villains what a true Jinchuriki can do." Izuku hesitated briefly. They had experimented with Kurama's chakra before, but only in small doses during private training. Using it now would reveal abilities he'd kept hidden even from his teachers and classmates. Another blur of movement, and Nomu was suddenly before him again, its fist descending in what would surely be a killing blow. "Now, Kit!" Kurama roared. Izuku's eyes snapped open, his pupils transforming into vertical slits. "Right?" Golden energy erupted around his body, blocking Nomu's attack and forcing the creature backward. The chakra cloak enveloped Izuku completely, forming a luminous yellow-orange aura that flickered like flames. Black markings resembling seals appeared across his hero costume, and his movements became sharper, more fluid as the transformation completed. "What the hell?" Shigaraki stepped back involuntarily, his eyes widening behind the hand mask. "What is this? Some kind of transformation quirk?" In the Kurama chakra mode, Izuku stood tall, his appearance dramatically altered. The golden energy around him took a subtle fox-like shape, with pointed ear-like projections above his head and an aura that resembled flowing tails behind him. "Nomu," Shigaraki commanded, his voice now urgent rather than playful. "Kill him now." The creature charged again, but this time, Izuku moved with blinding speed, far faster than before. He sidestepped Nomu's attack effortlessly, then countered with a chakra-enhanced strike that actually sent the massive villain staggering backward. "Its shock absorption has limits," Izuku realized, his senses heightened by Kurama's chakra. "If I hit it with enough force all at once." He extended his hand, and a Rasengan formed, larger and more powerful than any he'd created before, the golden chakra spinning with incredible intensity. "This is different from my normal Rasengan," Izuku thought to Kurama as he charged forward. "It's infused with my chakra," the fox explained, "far more potent than your own. But be careful, your body can only handle this form for about 5 minutes at your current level." Izuku nodded imperceptibly, then struck with blinding speed. Tailbeast Rasengan, the massive spiraling orb slammed into Nomu's chest, grinding against the shock absorption quirk. For a moment, they were at a stalemate, then Izuku pushed more of Kurama's chakra into the technique. The Rasengan expanded suddenly, overwhelming Nomu's defenses and drilling through its chest with devastating force. The creature was launched backward, crashing through one of the USJ's walls and continuing several hundred meters beyond before finally coming to rest, a massive hole where its torso had been. Shigaraki stood frozen, his hands dropping to his sides in shock. "That's impossible. Nomu was designed to fight All Might. He has shock absorption and regeneration. How did you?" Izuku turned toward the villain, golden chakra still flowing around him. "Shock absorption, not shock negation." There's a limit to how much it can absorb at once. His voice carried an otherworldly quality, deeper and more resonant than normal. As for regeneration, it can't regenerate if there's nothing left to heal. In the USJ entrance area, the remaining students and 13 watched in awe as golden light illuminated the central plaza. The Black Mist villain, who had identified himself as Kurojiri, paused in his battle with the space hero. "What is that light?" someone whispered. "It's coming from where Midoriya went," Uraraka realized, her eyes wide. Bakugo stared at the distant glow, his expression a mixture of disbelief and grudging respect. "Damn nerd," he muttered, always full of surprises. Back in the plaza, Shigaraki began scratching his neck violently, his composure completely shattered. "This isn't fair," he hissed, fingers drawing blood as they scraped against his skin. "You're cheating. This isn't how it's supposed to go." Shigaraki Tamura, Kurojiri materialized beside the agitated villain. "Several students escaped. Pro-heroes will arrive soon. We should retreat." "But All Might isn't even here." Shigaraki's voice rose to a childish wail. "And this kid just destroyed our Nomu. How is that possible?" Izuku took a step forward, the golden chakra around him intensifying. "Surrender now," he commanded. "It's over." For a moment, it seemed Shigaraki might attack despite the overwhelming disparity in power. Then, abruptly, his demeanor changed. His hands dropped from his neck and he straightened, a disturbing calm replacing his previous agitation. "This was just the tutorial level," he said, his voice eerily controlled. "Next time, we'll come with a stronger party." Before Izuku could respond, Kurojiri expanded his misty form around Shigaraki. "Until next time, heroes," the warp villain intoned as they began to dissolve into the dark portal. Izuku lunged forward with Kurama's enhanced speed, but they vanished completely before he could reach them. The golden chakra around him flickered as he stood alone in the plaza, the immediate threat neutralized. "They got away," he murmured, turning his attention to Aizawa, who was being tended to by the shadow clones he'd left behind. "Kit, you have about 2 minutes left in this form before chakra exhaustion sets in," Kurama warned. "Use it wisely." Nodding, Izuku moved to his teacher's side, the golden chakra illuminating Aizawa's broken form. The underground hero was conscious but severely injured, his arm shattered, face bloodied, and multiple other wounds visible across his body. "Midoriya," Aizawa managed, his voice barely audible. "What is this power?" "It's complicated, Sensei," Izuku replied gently. "Save your strength. Help is coming." As if on cue, the main doors of the USJ burst open, and a muscular figure bounded in with incredible speed. "Have no fear, for I am here." All Might's voice boomed throughout the facility, though his usual smile was replaced by a grim expression of concern. The symbol of peace took in the scene in an instant. The scattered villains, the damaged facility, the injured Aizawa, and most surprisingly, Izuku standing in a cloak of golden energy that was already beginning to fade. "Young Midoriya?" All Might approached cautiously, his eyes wide with astonishment. "What is this?" Before Izuku could answer, the chakra cloak dissipated completely, and exhaustion hit him like a physical blow. His knees buckled as the last of Kurama's chakra receded, leaving him drained and vulnerable. "The villains," he managed as darkness crept into his vision. "Their leaders escaped through a warp gate." All Might caught him before he hit the ground, confusion evident on his face. "Rest now, young man. You've done enough." As consciousness slipped away, Izuku heard Kurama's voice, unusually gentle. "Well done, Kit. You've taken your first step into a larger world." Then darkness claimed him completely. Izuku awoke to the sterile white ceiling of UA's infirmary. Sunlight streamed through partially drawn curtains, indicating it was sometime in the afternoon. His body felt heavy, muscles aching with the familiar pain of chakra exhaustion. 3 days, Kurama's voice rumbled within his mind. "You've been unconscious for 3 days. 3 days. Izuku tried to sit up, wincing at the effort. "Don't push yourself," an elderly female voice admonished. Recovery girl approached his bedside, her cane tapping against the floor. "Your body underwent extreme stress. Whatever that energy was, it nearly burned out your nervous system." "Recovery girl," Izuku greeted weakly. "Is everyone okay? Aizawa-sensei, your classmates are all fine, thanks in no small part to your actions," she replied, checking his vitals. "Aizawa suffered serious injuries but will recover fully with time. 13 sustained some damage from that warp villain but is already back on their feet." Relief washed over Izuku. "And the villains? Those that weren't defeated by you and your teachers were captured by the pro-heroes who arrived as reinforcements."
The leaders escaped, unfortunately. She fixed him with a penetrating gaze. Now about that power you displayed. Before she could continue, the infirmary door slid open, revealing Principal Nizu, followed by All Might in his deflated form and a bandaged Aizawa in a wheelchair. "Ah, he's awake," Nizu exclaimed cheerfully, approaching the bed. "How are you feeling, young Midoriya?" "Tired, sir, but okay," Izuku replied, nervously eyeing the three faculty members. Their presence suggested this wasn't a routine wellness check. "That's to be expected," Nizu nodded, pulling up a chair. "What you did at the USJ was quite remarkable. Multiple eyewitnesses described a golden energy surrounding you, granting you speed and power comparable to All Might himself." All Might stepped forward, his sunken eyes serious despite his gaunt appearance. "Young Midoriya, we've reviewed the security footage. The power you displayed, it wasn't the chakra manipulation you've demonstrated in class. It was," Izuku corrected quietly. "Just more of it." Aizawa, despite his injuries, maintained his penetrating gaze. "You told me your abilities came from manipulating an energy called chakra. What you didn't mention was that it could transform you physically or produce that kind of destructive output." Izuku glanced at each of them, then sighed. "I didn't lie about chakra. Everything I told you is true. But there's more to it than I explained." "I suggested as much," Nizu remarked, his expression unreadable. "We're not here to accuse you of anything, Midoriya. Your actions saved lives. But as your teachers and those responsible for your development as a hero, we need to understand what we're working with." A moment of silence followed as Izuku considered his options. Within his mindscape, Kurama stirred. "Tell them a version of the truth," the fox advised. "Not everything, but enough. They've earned that much." Izuku nodded slightly, then met Nizu's gaze directly. "What I'm about to tell you will sound impossible, but I ask that you listen completely before making judgments." For the next half hour, Izuku explained about chakra as an energy system, about his discovery of it as a child, and finally, about the presence within him that had guided his development. "You're saying there's an entity living inside you?" All Might clarified, his expression a mixture of concern and fascination. "A chakra being," Izuku confirmed, "immensely powerful with knowledge of techniques and abilities from elsewhere. He's been my teacher since I was 4 years old." "And this being helped you defeat the Nomu creature?" Nizu pressed. "Yes, by allowing me to access a portion of his chakra directly, greatly enhancing my physical abilities and the power of my techniques. We call it the Kurama chakra mode." Aizawa's eyes narrowed. "This being has a name then?" "Kurama." Izuku nodded. "Is it sentient? Can it hear us now?" Recovery Girl asked, unable to hide her medical curiosity. Izuku corrected gently. "And yes, he's fully sentient and aware of everything I experience." The room fell silent as the faculty processed this information. Finally, Nizu spoke again. "Could we speak with him directly?" Izuku hesitated, glancing inward. "Kurama," the fox considered for a long moment. "It may be necessary to establish trust, but I won't be treated as a specimen or a weapon." "He's willing," Izuku told them, "but I'll need to meditate to facilitate a more direct connection." With their agreement, Izuku closed his eyes, entering a meditative state. His breathing slowed and a subtle change came over his features. When his eyes opened again, they had transformed, vertical slits replacing round pupils, the green irises tinged with red. "So these are UA's finest?" Kurama's deep, rumbling voice emerged from Izuku's mouth, though the vocal patterns and inflections were entirely different. The crippled symbol of peace, the bandaged underground hero, the rodent principal, and the healing elder. All Might straightened despite his frail form. "You know who I am? My true condition." Kurama smirked with Izuku's face. "I sense energy, human. Yours is like a candle burning its last wick. Powerful but fading." "What exactly are you?" Nize asked directly. "Midoriya described you as a chakra being." "I am Kurama, the nine-tailed fox," the entity replied with undisguised pride. "Where I come from, I am known as the strongest of the tailed beasts, living constructs of chakra with power beyond your comprehension." "And where exactly do you come from?" Aizawa questioned skeptically. Kurama chuckled, a sound that seemed too deep and resonant to come from Izuku's throat. "Another world, another reality. The specifics wouldn't mean anything to you. What matters is that I am here now, bound to this boy through circumstances neither of us fully understand." "Are you controlling him?" All Might asked, concern evident in his voice. "If I wanted to control him, we wouldn't be having this conversation," Kurama replied bluntly. "Our partnership is voluntary. I provide guidance and chakra. He provides purpose and morality.
The arrangement suits us both. And what is your purpose here? Nizu inquired, his intelligent eyes studying Izuku's transformed features. Kurama was silent for a moment. In my world, I was feared as a destructive force, a demon to be contained and used as a weapon. Here, through Izuku, I have a chance to be something different, to help create a hero rather than a weapon. A hint of warmth entered his voice. The kit has potential.
Recovery girl stepped closer, medical curiosity overcoming caution. The energy you provided nearly overwhelmed his system. Is it safe for him to use it? His body is adapting, Kurama explained. Each exposure makes him stronger, more capable of channeling larger amounts. In time, he will handle my full power without strain. The fox-like eyes fixed on All Might. Power that rivals even yours, symbol of peace.
All Might and Aizawa exchanged glances, clearly processing the implications. I have answered your questions, Kurama continued. Now I have one of my own. What do you intend to do with this knowledge? Nizu folded his paws thoughtfully. That depends. Does Midoriya maintain control when using your power? Complete control, Kurama confirmed. I can offer advice, but all actions are his choice. And your intentions toward our students and society at large?
Kurama's borrowed expression softened slightly. I have lived centuries, little principle. I have seen empires rise and fall, witnessed the best and worst of intelligent beings. I have no desire to rule or destroy your world. My ambitions now are tied to Izuku's, to see him become the greatest hero he can be.
The faculty members looked at each other, seemingly coming to a silent agreement. Nizu nodded. Then for now, we see no reason to intervene in your arrangement. Midoriya's actions at the USJ saved lives. Whatever your nature, Kurama, the results speak for themselves.
A satisfied smile spread across Izuku's face. Wise decision. The kit will be pleased. With that, the vertical pupils faded, returning to normal as Izuku blinked and shook his head slightly, regaining control. Did it go okay? He asked uncertainly. Quite well, Nizu assured him. Your partner is interesting. Proud but straightforward.
That's Kurama, Izuku smiled weakly. Though he can be a bit dramatic.
I heard that, the fox grumbled internally, causing Izuku to chuckle.
All Might approached the bed. Young Midoriya, what you did at the USJ was heroic, regardless of the source of your power. But moving forward, we'll need to establish parameters for using this Kurama chakra mode. Its effects on your body are concerning. I understand, Izuku nodded. We've been working on that. With proper training, I should be able to extend the duration and reduce the aftereffects.
Which brings us to our next point, Nizu interjected. In light of the USJ attack, EA is postponing regular classes for 2 weeks to enhance security and allow students to recover. However, his beady eyes twinkled. This might provide an excellent opportunity for specialized training.
Specialized training? Izuku echoed.
If you're amenable, I'd like All Might to work with you on controlling and efficiently utilizing your enhanced state. His experience with extraordinary power could prove invaluable.
All Might looked surprised but nodded in agreement. I'd be honored to help, though I'm not familiar with chakra specifically.
The principles of controlling overwhelming power are universal, Aizawa commented from his wheelchair. And I'll be supervising to ensure safety protocols are maintained. Despite his injuries, the Erasure hero's tone made it clear this wasn't optional.
Izuku's face lit up with excitement. That would be amazing. Thank you.
Don't thank us yet, Recovery Girl warned, wagging a finger. I'll be monitoring your physical condition throughout. Any signs of permanent damage and we stop immediately.
Of course, Izuku agreed readily.
As the faculty prepared to leave, allowing him to rest, All Might lingered behind. Young Midoriya, he began once they were alone. This power of yours, it's truly remarkable. But remember that what makes a hero isn't power alone, but how they choose to use it. Izuku nodded solemnly. I know, All Might. That's something Kurama has taught me too, in his own way.
Has he now? All Might looked genuinely curious. It seems there's much I could learn from both of you. After All Might departed, Izuku sank back into his pillows, mentally conversing with Kurama.
That went better than expected, he thought to the fox.
Humans in positions of authority typically respond one of 2 ways to power they don't understand, Kurama replied. They either fear it and seek to control it, or they recognize its value and attempt to ally with it. Your teachers chose the wiser path.
All Might training us though, that's incredible. The symbol of peace himself.
Kurama snorted. Don't get too excited, kid. He may be this world's greatest hero, but he's clearly on his last legs. Whatever injury he's hiding, it's killing him slowly.
Izuku's excitement dimmed at the reminder. Still, there's no one with more experience controlling immense power. It's an opportunity we can't waste. True enough, Kurama conceded. Rest now. You'll need your strength for what's coming.
The training, that, and the event your classmates were whispering about while you were unconscious. Apparently, UA isn't canceling its sports festival despite the villain attack. Izuku's eyes widened. The UA Sports Festival? But that's your chance to show the world what a Jinchuriki can do, Kurama finished, a hint of anticipation in his mental voice. Sleep, Kit. We have much to prepare for. The training ground was little more than a secluded clearing in the forested area of UA's expansive campus, chosen specifically for privacy and the natural barriers that would contain any energy releases. 5 days after the USJ incident, Izuku stood at its center, facing All Might in his muscular form and Aizawa, still heavily bandaged but insistent on overseeing the session. Before we begin, All Might announced, I'd like to understand exactly what happens when you access this Kurama chakra mode. The physical transformation, the energy output, the limitations, everything.
Izuku nodded. It's a direct infusion of Kurama's chakra into my system. His energy is far more potent than my own, enhancing everything: strength, speed, reflexes, sensory perception. The visible manifestation is the golden aura, which takes a shape reminiscent of Kurama's true form.
And the limitations? Aizawa pressed from his position against a nearby tree. Currently, I can maintain the form for about 5 minutes before chakra exhaustion sets in. The longer I use it, the more strain it puts on my body. After the USJ, I was unconscious for 3 days. All Might stroked his chin thoughtfully. Similar to my own situation, the power is tremendous but comes with a strict time limit.
The difference, Aizawa noted, is that Midoriya's limit can potentially increase with training. Your condition is different.
A brief shadow crossed All Might's face before his smile returned full force. Indeed, which is why this training is so important. Young Midoriya, with proper control, you could extend your time limit while reducing the physical toll. That's the goal, Izuku agreed. Kurama believes I should be able to maintain the form for at least 15 minutes with sufficient practice.
Let's start by observing the transformation itself, All Might suggested. Can you activate it now? Izuku closed his eyes, entering his mindscape briefly. Ready, Kurama?
The massive fox nodded, NineTails swishing behind him. Remember, Kit, control is key. Don't just channel my chakra. Direct it precisely where it's needed. Returning his attention outward, Izuku took a deep breath, then called upon Kurama's power. Golden energy erupted around him, enveloping his form in the now familiar cloak. The ground beneath his feet cracked slightly from the pressure as the transformation completed. All Might whistled, impressed despite himself. Extraordinary. The energy output is visible even to the naked eye. Aizawa's tired eyes narrowed as he studied the transformation. The chakra appears to form a protective layer around your body. Is that intentional?
Yes, Izuku replied, his voice carrying that same resonant quality it had at the USJ. It serves as both armor and amplifier. Attacks have to penetrate the chakra cloak before they can reach me, and my own techniques gain significant power when filtered through it.
To demonstrate, he created a standard Rasengan in his palm, but instead of its usual blue color, this one glowed golden with Kurama's energy, spinning faster and more intensely than the normal version. The enhancement isn't just physical, Izuku continued, dispersing the Rasengan. My senses sharpen considerably. I can detect living beings within a certain radius through their body heat and energy signatures. My reaction time increases exponentially. Show me, All Might challenged, suddenly rushing forward with a speed that would be invisible to ordinary humans. To Izuku in Kurama chakra mode, however, the hero's movements seemed almost sluggish. He sidestepped the attack effortlessly, then countered with a light tap to All Might's back as the hero passed him. All Might stumbled slightly in surprise, turning with widened eyes. I was moving at nearly full speed.
In this form, I perceive everything in what feels like slow motion, Izuku explained. Kurama's chakra enhances my neural processing to match the physical capabilities.
Fascinating, Aizawa muttered, making notes. Continue with the demonstration. What else can you do in this state?
For the next few minutes, Izuku showcased various abilities, creating golden shadow clones that were significantly more durable than his standard ones, performing elemental techniques with increased power, and demonstrating the enhanced sensory capabilities by pinpointing small animals moving through the surrounding forest without looking.
The versatility is impressive, All Might acknowledged. But I notice you're already breathing harder. How much time has elapsed? About 2 minutes, Izuku admitted, feeling the familiar strain beginning to build. In actual combat at the USJ, using high-powered techniques accelerated the chakra consumption. Then our first priority should be efficiency, All Might decided. You're letting energy leak from your transformation. See how it flares around you? That's wasted power that could extend your time limit.
Kurama says the same thing, Izuku nodded. But containing his chakra completely is difficult. It naturally wants to expand outward.
Try visualizing it differently, All Might suggested. Instead of a cloak surrounding you, imagine it as a second skin, perfectly fitted with no gaps or excess.
Izuku closed his eyes, focusing on the mental image. The golden aura flickered, then contracted slightly, conforming more closely to his body's outline. Better, Kurama approved. The symbol of peace understands power containment, if nothing else. For the remainder of the session, they worked on refining the chakra cloak, making it more efficient without sacrificing its protective qualities. By the time Izuku finally released the transformation, nearly 4 minutes had passed with no significant increase in strain. Excellent progress for a first attempt, All Might praised as Izuku caught his breath. With practice, you should be able to extend the duration considerably. There's another aspect we should address, Aizawa interjected. Public perception. That transformation is visually striking and unmistakable. Once you use it in a public setting like the sports festival, you'll be instantly recognizable thereafter.
Izuku considered this. Is that a problem? It could be, Aizawa replied bluntly. Distinctive powers attract attention, both from the public and from villains. The League of Villains has already seen it once. Using it again puts a target on your back. But hiding it completely isn't practical either, All Might countered. If young Midoriya faces genuine danger, he shouldn't hesitate to use every tool available. I agree, Izuku said firmly. Kurama's power is part of who I am. I won't hide it when it matters, but I can be strategic about when I reveal it. Aizawa nodded slightly. Acceptable. Just be prepared for the consequences. Fame in the hero world is a double-edged sword. The training continued daily over the next week, each session focusing on different aspects of the Kurama chakra mode. All Might proved to be an insightful instructor, drawing parallels between Izuku's transformation and his own power management. Aizawa, despite his injuries, provided valuable tactical guidance on when and how to deploy such overwhelming abilities in various scenarios. By the end of the training period, Izuku could maintain the transformation for nearly 8 minutes without significant strain, a substantial improvement from his starting point. Your progress is remarkable, young Midoriya, All Might commented during their final session. At this rate, you could potentially maintain the form for a full 15 minutes within a few months. Thank you, Izuku replied earnestly. I couldn't have improved this quickly without your guidance. All Might's perpetual smile softened into something more genuine. It's been a privilege. Your determination reminds me of myself when I was younger. His expression grew more serious. But remember what we discussed about restraint. The sports festival is not a battlefield. You won't need to go all out to succeed. I understand, Izuku assured him. I'll use only what's necessary. As they concluded the training and prepared to return to the main campus, Aizawa called Izuku aside. One more thing, Midoriya. Principal Nizu asked me to inform you that while your situation with Kurama remains confidential among the faculty, you're free to discuss it with your classmates if you choose. The decision is yours.
Izuku considered this. I'll think about it. Thank you, Sensei.
That evening, as Izuku soaked in a hot bath to ease his muscle fatigue, he contemplated Aizawa's message. Should I tell them? He asked Kurama. About you, I mean.
The fox was silent for a moment. What do you hope to gain by revealing my existence?
Not gain exactly. It's just, they're my friends and classmates. We're training to be heroes together. Keeping such a big secret feels wrong somehow.
Humans and their need for emotional honesty, Kurama sighed. In my world, Jinchuriki often kept their status secret for protection, both their own and others. But your situation is different. There's no historical precedent for tailed beasts here, no reason for automatic fear or distrust. So you think I should tell them?
I think you should be selective, Kurama advised. Those you trust most, perhaps. The explosive one would likely react poorly, but others might understand. Izuku nodded thoughtfully, sinking deeper into the water. I'll start with Uraraka and Ida after the sports festival. They've been the most supportive so far. A reasonable approach, Kurama agreed. Now rest. Classes resume tomorrow, and the festival itself approaches. You'll need your strength for both. The following days passed in a blur of preparation. Regular classes resumed, though security at UA had been visibly enhanced following the USJ attack. Media interest in the upcoming sports festival had intensified as well, with reporters constantly lingering outside the school gates, hoping for interviews or insights about the first-year students who had faced real villains. Within Class 1A, excitement about the festival was palpable. For many Hero Corps students, it represented their first real opportunity to catch the attention of pro heroes and agencies. The UA Sports Festival is watched by top pros from across the country, Kirishima exclaimed during lunch one day. It's our chance to get scouted.
Indeed, Yaoyorozu agreed. Many students receive internship offers based on their festival performance. It's essentially our professional debut. Izuku listened to his classmates' enthusiasm with a quiet smile. While they discussed strategies and trained their quirks, he continued his own preparations, focusing on techniques that wouldn't immediately reveal Kurama's presence. The day before the festival, as Class 1A was preparing to leave for the day, they found their exit blocked by a crowd of students from other departments. What's going on? Uraraka wondered, peering at the gathered students. They're scouting the competition, Bakugo replied dismissively, pushing his way forward. Move aside, extras. So these are the famous Class 1A students. A tired-looking student with purple hair and prominent dark circles under his eyes stepped forward. The ones who fought actual villains. I wonder if you're really all that special or just lucky. And you are? Ida inquired politely. Hitoshi Shinso, General Department. Some of us couldn't get into the hero course and ended up elsewhere, but the sports festival offers a chance for transfer. His gaze swept across Class 1A before settling on Izuku. Especially if we outperform the current hero students. Izuku met his gaze steadily. That's fair. The festival should be about individual merit, not which class you're in.
Shinso's eyes narrowed slightly. Interesting perspective from someone already in the hero course. We'll see if you still feel that way after I take your spot. Is that a threat? Bakugo growled, small explosions popping from his palms. Just a declaration of intent, Shinso replied coolly before turning away. See you tomorrow.
As the crowd dispersed, allowing Class 1A to finally exit, Izuku found himself pondering Shinso's words.
He's right, you know, Kurama commented. Systems that sort humans based on early performance often miss late bloomers or those with less conventional talents.
Like being quirkless but having chakra? Izuku thought back with a small smile. Precisely. This festival may be more interesting than anticipated.
That night, Izuku performed his final preparations. He reviewed his strategies for different event types, practiced chakra control exercises to ensure precision under pressure, and finally meditated with Kurama to center his mind. Remember, the fox advised as they sat in Izuku's mindscape, restraint doesn't mean hiding your abilities completely. Show enough to advance, to impress. Save the full extent for when it truly matters, right? Izuku nodded. No Kurama chakra mode unless absolutely necessary. And Kit, Kurama added, his tone unusually gentle. Whatever happens tomorrow, know that your growth these past months has been impressive. For a human, Izuku smiled at the grudging compliment. Thanks, Kurama.
As he drifted off to sleep, images of tomorrow's challenges flickered through his mind. Whatever tests awaited, he would face them with the accumulated wisdom of the NineTails and the unwavering determination that had carried him from quirkless child to UA student.
The sports festival would be his debut to the wider world. The first public display of what a Jinchuriki could achieve in a society of quirks. The morning of the UA Sports Festival dawned clear and crisp. Massive crowds converged on the school grounds, filling the enormous stadium to capacity. Pro heroes were stationed throughout as both security and talent scouts, their colorful costumes standing out among the regular spectators.
In the Class 1A waiting room, tension and excitement mingled as students made their final preparations. Some stretched or performed last-minute quirk exercises, while others sat quietly, mentally rehearsing strategies.
Izuku stood by the window, watching the crowds file into the stadium. His expression was calm, focused, a stark contrast to the nervous boy he might have been without Kurama's years of guidance. Nervous, Deku? Uraraka asked, approaching with her usual cheerful smile, though there was a determined glint in her eyes today.
Focused, he replied with a small smile. This is an important opportunity for all of us.
Yeah, she nodded enthusiastically. Though I'm a little jealous of how calm you always seem. I'm all butterflies inside. Nervousness and excitement are physiologically identical, Izuku explained. It's just a matter of mental framing.
Another pearl of wisdom from your meditation practice? She teased gently. Before he could respond, Todoroki approached, his mismatched eyes fixed intently on Izuku.
Midoriya, he began without preamble. Objectively speaking, I'm stronger than you.
The room fell silent, all attention turning to the unexpected confrontation.
That's direct, Izuku replied calmly. What brings this on, Todoroki? At the USJ, you displayed power comparable to All Might's. A transformation that shouldn't be possible for someone supposedly quirkless. Todoroki's voice remained even, betraying no emotion. You're holding back in regular classes. I want to know why. Izuku considered the dual quirk user thoughtfully. We all have our reasons for the choices we make. I use what's necessary for each situation, no more. I was created to surpass All Might, Todoroki continued, seemingly ignoring Izuku's response. My father engineered my entire existence for that purpose. Today, I'll prove I can do it without using his power. He glanced down at his left side, which controlled his fire abilities. I'll defeat you using only my right side, my mother's power.
The declaration hung in the air, heavy with implications about Todoroki's family situation that Izuku immediately recognized.
Interesting, Kurama commented within Izuku's mind. The boy has daddy issues even worse than the Uchiha brats from my world.
I'm sorry about your father, Izuku replied sincerely. But limiting yourself won't prove anything except that you're willing to fight at a disadvantage. Todoroki's eyes narrowed slightly. You don't understand, I understand more than you think, Izuku interrupted gently. But this isn't the place for that conversation. If we face each other in the festival, I'll give you my full respect by fighting with everything I have. I hope you'll do the same.
Before Todoroki could respond, Ida burst through the door, chopping his arms robotically. It's time, everyone. We're being called to the opening ceremony. As the class filed out, Bakugo shouldered past both Izuku and Todoroki. You two can compete for second place, he growled. I'm winning this thing. The opening ceremony was a spectacle of lights, sound, and energy. Class 1A entered the stadium to thunderous applause, their recent encounter with villains having made them minor celebrities already. Midnight, serving as the chief referee, called Bakugo to the stage as the first-year representative, based on his top entrance exam score. His speech was characteristically blunt. I'm going to win, he declared to boos from other departments and resigned sighs from his own classmates.
So elegant, Kurama remarked dryly.
That's Kakin, Izuku thought back. Subtle as an explosion. The first event was announced. An obstacle race around the stadium's perimeter, with all first-year students participating simultaneously. The top 42 finishers would advance to the second round. As the students lined up at the starting gate, Izuku positioned himself strategically, analyzing the narrow passage that would create an immediate bottleneck. The first obstacle is the crowd itself, he murmured, channeling a small amount of chakra to his legs in preparation. Begin! Present Mick's voice boomed, and the mass of students surged forward.
As predicted, the narrow corridor created immediate chaos as students pushed and shoved, many using their quirks to gain advantage. Todoroki acted first, freezing the ground behind him as he dashed through, immobilizing many competitors.
Izuku, however, simply channeled chakra to his feet and ran up the wall, bypassing the bottleneck entirely. He flipped over the heads of his stunned classmates, landing in a clear area ahead of even Todoroki. Wall walking again? Present Mike commented from the announcement booth. Class 1, Izuku Midoriya continues to show unusual mobility with his energy manipulation. Izuku sprinted forward, maintaining a steady flow of chakra for enhanced speed without revealing his full capabilities. Todoroki quickly caught up, giving him a measuring look before accelerating on an ice path.
The first major obstacle appeared, a field of massive robots, including several of the zero-pointers from the entrance exam.
The Robo Inferno, Present Mike announced dramatically. The same villains from the entrance exams. Todoroki didn't hesitate, freezing one giant robot solid before passing underneath as it toppled. The move was effective but created a blockage for following students.
Izuku opted for a different approach. As a zero-pointer swung at him, he channeled chakra to his feet and ran directly up its arm. When he reached the shoulder, he formed quick hand seals. Water-style, water bullet jutsu.
The compressed jet of water pierced the robot's main control panel with surgical precision, causing it to short-circuit and freeze in place. Using the stationary robot as a launch point, Izuku leapt to the next obstacle. Amazing precision from Midoriya, Present Mike exclaimed. He disabled the robot without destroying it. The second obstacle was the fall, a series of stone pillars connected by tight ropes over a deep canyon. Most students slowed considerably, carefully making their way across the precarious paths. Izuku simply channeled chakra to his feet again and ran across the ropes as if they were solid ground, maintaining perfect balance despite the swaying. Is he running on the tight ropes? Aizawa's tired voice commented over the speakers. That level of balance control is exceptional. Behind him, other students employed various strategies. Bakugo blasted himself across with explosions, Todoroki created ice bridges, and Yaoyorozu fashioned a pole vault. Each approach showcased their unique abilities, but Izuku maintained his lead through pure speed and efficiency. The final obstacle was a minefield, visible explosives planted throughout a wide field. While not lethal, the mines would launch anyone who triggered them and significantly slow their progress. Todoroki and Bakugo caught up here, both forced to reduce their speed to avoid the mines. The three leaders began a tense advancement through the field, each seeking the quickest route. Time for something flashier, Izuku decided, forming the cross seal. Shadow Clone Jutsu. 10 clones appeared, immediately spreading out across the minefield. They deliberately triggered mines in strategic locations, creating a pattern of explosions that cleared a path while simultaneously disrupting his rival's progress. Brilliant strategy from Midoriya, Present Mike shouted. He's using expendable copies to map a safe route, taking advantage of the cleared path and the confusion caused by the multiple explosions. Izuku channeled chakra for one final burst of speed. He surged ahead of both Todoroki and Bakugo, crossing the finish line several seconds before either could reach it. Midoriya Izuku takes first place, Present Mike announced to thunderous applause. The supposedly quirkless student outpaces everyone with his mysterious energy techniques. Izuku bent forward, hands on his knees, catching his breath as Todoroki finished second, followed closely by Bakugo. The explosive student's face was contorted with rage at being denied victory, while Todoroki regarded Izuku with renewed interest. You held back, the dual quirk user noted quietly as they waited for the other finishers. So did you? Izuku replied evenly. Neither of us showed our full capabilities. Bakugo shouldered between them. Enjoy your win, Deku. It won't happen again. As the remaining students finished the race, Midnight returned to announce the second event, a cavalry battle. The 42 qualifiers would form teams of 2 to 4, with each person assigned a point value based on their ranking in the obstacle race. And the first place contestant, Midnight declared with dramatic flair, is worth 10 million points. All eyes turned to Izuku, who maintained his composure despite the sudden pressure. Winning the first event had painted a massive target on his back, exactly as intended by the festival organizers. Everyone will be gunning for you, Kit, Kurama observed. Exactly the kind of attention we were trying to avoid. It was inevitable, Izuku replied mentally. Better to face it directly than hide. As students began forming teams, Izuku found himself momentarily isolated, many competitors hesitant to join the primary target. Then Uraraka approached, determination in her expression. Let's team up, Deku, she declared. I know everyone will be after you, but that just makes it more exciting, right? Izuku smiled gratefully. Thanks, Uraraka. Your zero gravity will be perfect for mobility. They were soon joined by Tokoyami, whose dark shadow offered both offense and defense, and surprisingly, Mei Hatsum from the support department, who saw teaming with the primary target as the best way to showcase her inventions. My babies need the spotlight, she explained enthusiastically, presenting an array of support items. And being on the most hunted team guarantees screen time, strategic and practical, Izuku approved. Let's work out our formation. The cavalry battle began with predictable results. Almost every team immediately targeted Izuku's group. Their strategy, however, was prepared for this. With Izuku as the rider, Uraraka used her quirk to make the entire team nearly weightless, allowing for incredible mobility. Tokoyami's dark shadow provided defensive coverage, while Hatsum's jetpacks and other gadgets gave them unpredictable movement options. They're coming from all sides, Uraraka warned as multiple teams converged on them. Hold steady, Izuku directed calmly. Tokoyami, defense on the right. Hatsum, prepare for a burst upward on my mark. As Bakugo's team launched an aerial assault with his explosions, Izuku timed their counter perfectly. Now, the jetpacks ignited, sending their formation soaring unexpectedly upward, causing Bakugo to miss entirely. As they descended, Izuku created 2 shadow clones that appeared to be holding headbands. immediately breaking off in different directions. Decoys, Present Mike announced. Team Midoriya is using misdirection. The strategy worked brilliantly, splitting the pursuing teams and creating breathing room. Throughout the Cavalry Battle, they maintained possession of the 10 million points through a combination of evasion, misdirection, and occasional defensive stands when cornered. When the final horn sounded, Izuku's team had succeeded in protecting their points, securing first place in the second round. Bakugo's team placed second, having accumulated significant points from other competitors. Todoroki's team secured third, while the final qualifying spot went, surprisingly, to Shinso's team, who had employed some kind of mind control quirk to steal points in the closing moments.
The Cavalry Battle concludes. President Mike announced. These 16 students will advance to the final round, a one-on-one tournament.
As the matchups were randomly determined, Izuku found himself facing Hitoshi Shinso in the first round. The purple-haired general department student gave him an unreadable look before turning away.
Be cautious with that one, Kurama advised. His quirk likely involves verbal interaction given how he operated in the Cavalry Battle.
Noted, Izuku replied mentally. I'll avoid unnecessary conversation. After a break for lunch and recreational activities, the tournament portion began. Izuku prepared himself in the waiting room, meditating briefly to center his mind.
Remember, Kurama said this is about demonstrating skill and control, not overwhelming power. Save my chakra for when it's truly needed.
Izuku nodded slightly. The goal is to showcase versatility and technique. The pros are watching for potential, not just raw strength. When his name was called, he walked calmly into the stadium, facing Shinso across the concrete arena. Midnight, officiating from the side, reviewed the rules. Competitors would win by ring-out, immobilization, or surrender. Lethal force was prohibited. So you're the famous quirkless wonder, Shinso called as they took their positions. Must be nice, having power and pretending you're some kind of underdog story. Izuku remained silent, remembering Kurama's warning. Instead, he settled into a ready stance, chakra flowing just beneath the surface, prepared but not yet activated.
Nothing to say? Shinso pressed. Are you looking down on me because I'm from General Studies? Think you're better than us?
Still, Izuku maintained his silence, analyzing his opponent carefully. Shinso's strategy clearly involved provoking a verbal response. Begin, Midnight announced.
Shinso made one final attempt. Your friend Uraraka said she only teamed with you out of pity. That true. Izuku's eyes narrowed slightly, but he remained disciplined, forming hand seals instead of speaking. Shadow Clone Jutsu.
3 clones appeared, immediately spreading out to surround Shinso. The General Studies student's eyes widened in surprise, his verbal strategy clearly disrupted by Izuku's silence. So that's how it is, Shinso muttered, backing up defensively. Fine. The clones attacked simultaneously from different angles, forcing Shinso to focus on evasion. He was surprisingly agile but lacked combat training, his movements more panicked than precise. After allowing the clones to pressure Shinso for several moments, pushing him closer to the boundary, Izuku made his move. He channeled chakra to his legs and dashed forward with blinding speed, appearing directly behind his opponent. A precise strike to Shinso's back sent him stumbling forward, directly into the waiting arms of a shadow clone. Before Shinso could recover, the clone lifted him and simply walked to the boundary, depositing him outside the ring.
Shinso is out of bounds, Midnight declared. Midoriya advances to the second round.
The victory was clean, efficient, and showcased tactical thinking rather than overwhelming force, exactly as Izuku had planned. As he turned to leave, Shinso called after him.
Hey, Midoriya. Izuku paused, looking back but still not speaking.
My quirk is brainwashing, Shinso explained, a hint of respect in his voice. It activates when someone responds to me verbally. You figured it out without me saying a word. He shook his head slightly. People think my quirk is villainous, you know? Not heroic enough. Izuku considered this, then finally spoke, now that the match was concluded. There are no villainous quirks, only villainous choices. Your ability would be invaluable for hostage situations or talking down suicidal jumpers. Shinso's eyes widened slightly. You actually get it. I was quirkless until I discovered chakra, Izuku reminded him. I know what it's like to have others define your potential for you.
A small, genuine smile crossed Shinso's face. Next time, I'll be better prepared. Don't get too comfortable in the hero course.
Izuku nodded, acknowledging the friendly challenge before heading back to the waiting area.
The tournament continued with several notable matches. Todoroki freezing Zero instantly in a display of overwhelming power, Bakugo brutally defeating Uraraka despite her incredible effort, and Tokoyami's Dark Shadow proving nearly unstoppable in the stadium's shadowy conditions. When the first round concluded, Izuku found himself matched against Tokoyami for the quarterfinals. The bird-headed student nodded respectfully as they took their positions. "Your shadowy companion against my clones," Izuku remarked. "This should be interesting." "Indeed," Tokoyami agreed, "though I suspect you have more tricks than you've shown thus far." The match began with Dark Shadow immediately lunging forward, its amorphous form extending like a living weapon. Izuku dodged fluidly, analyzing the shadow creature's properties. "Light weakens it," he noted, remembering Tokoyami's previous matches. "But it's exceptionally strong in darker conditions." He created shadow clones to test Dark Shadow's capabilities, sacrificing them systematically to understand its reach, speed, and limitations. Each clone dispelled provided valuable tactical information. "Enough reconnaissance," Kurama urged. "Show them something new." Nodding slightly, Izuku formed unfamiliar hand seals, channeling chakra differently than before. Fire style, Phoenix Flower Jutsu. Multiple small fireballs shot from his mouth, illuminating the arena. Dark Shadow recoiled visibly from the light, shrinking in size and potency. Midoriya reveals a new elemental technique, Present Mike announced excitedly. "Those fire projectiles are forcing Dark Shadow to retreat." Tokoyami gritted his beak, trying to maintain control as his partner weakened. Light-based attacks, a natural counter. Izuku pressed his advantage, combining fire techniques with shadow clones to keep Dark Shadow constantly exposed to light. As the shadow entity continued to shrink, Izuku closed the distance to Tokoyami himself. "Your quirk is powerful," he acknowledged, "but too specialized. In battle, versatility often prevails over raw strength." With Dark Shadow minimized, Tokoyami had little defense against Izuku's taijutsu. A swift series of strikes, enhanced with just enough chakra to be effective without causing injury, left the bird-headed student unable to continue. "Tokoyami is unable to battle," Midnight declared. Midoriya advances to the semifinals. The semifinals placed Izuku against Ida, who had advanced with impressive showings of his engine quirk. The class representative bowed formally before their match. "Midoriya, I consider you a friend, but I will not hold back," he declared. "My family is watching, and I must do them proud." "I wouldn't want it any other way," Izuku replied sincerely. When the match began, Ida immediately activated his special move, Recipro Burst, temporarily removing his engine's limiters for explosive speed. He became a blur of movement, striking Izuku before he could form hand seals for clones or techniques. Too fast for hand signs, Izuku thought, blocking a powerful kick. "I need to create distance." He channeled chakra throughout his body, using it to enhance his reflexes and perception. Though still not matching Ida's raw speed, this allowed him to predict movement patterns and begin countering effectively. "Ingenious application of fundamentals," Aizawa commented over the speakers. Midoriya is reading Ida's movement patterns and positioning accordingly. After weathering the initial assault, Izuku managed to create enough separation to form hand seals. Earth-style Earth Wall, a barrier of stone erupted from the ground, temporarily blocking Ida's path and giving Izuku precious seconds to form more seals. Water-style Water Bullet Jutsu, the pressurized water struck the ground at Ida's feet, creating a slick surface that compromised his traction. As the engine user struggled to maintain balance, Izuku created shadow clones that attacked from multiple angles, further disrupting Ida's momentum. The decisive moment came when Ida's Recipro Burst reached its time limit, his engine stalling temporarily. In that vulnerable window, Izuku closed the distance and executed a perfect sweep, toppling the taller student. Before Ida could recover, Izuku pinned him with a chakra-enhanced grip. "Ida is immobilized," Midnight announced. Midoriya advances to the finals. The other semi-final match had been equally intense, with Todoroki and Bakugo battling to a near standstill before Todoroki's overwhelming ice finally secured his victory, though notably, he had maintained his vow not to use his fire side despite being pushed to his limits. And so the stage was set for the final confrontation. Izuku Midoriya versus Shoto Todoroki. As they faced each other across the arena, tension crackled in the air. In the stands, pro-heroes leaned forward with interest, recognizing that this match would showcase two of UA's most promising first years. "Todoroki," Izuku began as they waited for the signal to start. "Whatever your reasons for rejecting half your power, know that I respect your choice."
but I'll still fight you with everything I have. I wouldn't expect less, Todoroki replied, his mismatched eyes intense. Show me the power you used at the USJ. The golden transformation. Izuku shook his head slightly. Only if necessary. This isn't about overwhelming force. It's about proving ourselves as future heroes.
Begin. Midnight called, stepping back from the impending clash. Todoroki didn't hesitate, immediately launching a massive ice attack that threatened to engulf the entire arena. Glacier-like formations rushed toward Izuku with frightening speed, the temperature plummeting around them. Izuku's hands flashed through seals. Fire style, Great Fireball Jutsu. The fireball that erupted from his mouth was far larger than any he'd produced previously, fueled by the intensity of the moment. It collided with the advancing ice, creating an explosive cloud of steam that temporarily obscured the entire arena. Using the cover, Izuku channeled chakra to his feet and circled to Todoroki's flank, emerging from the mist with 3 shadow clones. They attacked simultaneously, forcing Todoroki to create ice shields on multiple sides. He's faster than expected, Todoroki muttered, visibly straining to track all the Izukis at once. The real Izuku noticed something crucial. Todoroki's right side was beginning to frost over, the drawback of his continuous ice production without using his left side to regulate his temperature. You're limiting yourself unnecessarily, Izuku called, dispersing another ice attack with a chakra-enhanced punch. Your body can't sustain this one-sided approach. Shut up, Todoroki growled, sending another massive wave of ice that Izuku barely avoided. I'll never use his fire. In the stands, Endeavor watched with growing frustration as his son refused to use his full potential. Stop messing around, the flame hero shouted. Use your left side, Shoto. Todoroki's expression hardened at his father's voice, his attacks becoming more desperate and less controlled. The frost on his right side spread further, his movements visibly slowing. Izuku created more shadow clones, systematically pushing Todoroki toward his physiological limits. Each ice attack became smaller, less precise as his body temperature dropped dangerously. Why are you going this far? Todoroki demanded, breathing heavily as he struggled to maintain his offense. This is just a school competition.
Izuku dispelled his remaining clones, facing Todoroki directly. Because I respect you too much to accept anything less than your best. Your power is yours, not your father's.
You don't understand. I understand perfectly. Izuku interrupted, his voice intense. My power comes from a source most people would fear if they knew the truth. But it's not defined by its origin, it's defined by how I choose to use it.
The words struck Todoroki deeply, resonating with something long buried. His heterochromatic eyes widened as memories flooded back, his mother's gentle words before the incident. It's okay to use your power. Your future is yours to decide. My power, Todoroki murmured, looking down at his frost-covered right arm, then at his unused left. Show me your full strength, Todoroki, Izuku challenged, chakra visibly flowing around him now. Or I'll have to show you mine. Something shifted in Todoroki's expression, a release, an acceptance. Flames suddenly erupted from his left side, melting the ice and frost that had accumulated. Steam billowed around him as he found balance for the first time in years.
Thank you, Midoriya, he said quietly, a small smile forming on his usually stoic face.
You're right. In the stands, Endeavor roared with triumph, completely misinterpreting the moment. Yes, excellent, Shoto. Embrace your purpose. But Todoroki wasn't listening to his father. For the first time, he was embracing his power on his own terms. Let's finish this properly, he called to Izuku, flames and ice swirling around him in perfect harmony. Gladly, Izuku replied, forming hand seals for his most powerful standard technique. What followed was a spectacular exchange of power. Todoroki unleashed simultaneous blasts of fire and ice, the contrasting elements creating a devastating combination attack. Izuku countered with a massive Rasengan, pouring significant chakra into the spiraling sphere. The techniques collided at the center of the arena, creating an explosion that forced everyone in the stadium to shield their eyes. The concrete beneath their feet cracked and splintered from the pressure. When the dust cleared, both combatants remained standing, though barely. Todoroki was on one knee, his dual quirk finally depleted after years of restriction. Izuku stood swaying slightly, the Rasengan having consumed much of his regular chakra reserves.
Not done yet, Todoroki declared, forcing himself to his feet for one final attack.
Izuku watched as his opponent gathered the last of his strength, preparing a combined assault of fire and ice that would decide the match. In this moment, facing Todoroki's full power, a decision crystallized in his mind. Kurama, he thought, just enough to match him. Not the full transformation, but enough to show him proper respect. As you wish, Kit, the fox replied, a hint of pride in his mental voice. As Todoroki launched his final attack, a beautiful spiral of intertwined fire and ice, Izuku's eyes shifted to vertical slits. A partial chakra cloak formed around him, golden energy encasing his right arm as he thrust it forward to meet Todoroki's assault. Rasengan, he called, the technique glowing with Kurama's power. The collision created a shockwave that rippled throughout the stadium. For several seconds, neither technique yielded, the forces perfectly balanced. Then, gradually, Izuku's Rasengan began to overpower Todoroki's attack, the golden chakra proving just slightly stronger than the dual quirk at its limit. With a final surge of effort, Izuku pushed through his Rasengan, dispersing Todoroki's elements before striking the dual quirk user directly in the chest. The impact was controlled but sufficient to send Todoroki sliding backward until he fell outside the boundary line. Todoroki is out of bounds, Midnight announced. Midoriya wins the final match. The stadium erupted in cheers, the spectators having witnessed one of the most impressive battles in sports festival history. As the golden chakra faded from Izuku's arm, he approached Todoroki, extending his hand. "That was your true power," he said, helping his classmate to his feet. "It's incredible." Todoroki accepted the assistance, a new respect in his eyes. "Thank you, Midoriya, not just for the match, but for the reminder. My power is my own to use." In the stands, Endeavor pushed his way toward the exit, his expression unreadable. Though his son had finally used his fire side, something told him that the victory wasn't what he had anticipated all these years. The awards ceremony was a blur of lights, applause, and formal recognition. All Might himself presented the medals. Bronze to Bakugo, who had defeated Ida in the third-place match, silver to Todoroki, and gold to Izuku. Young Midoriya, All Might said proudly as he placed the medal around Izuku's neck. "You've shown not just power today, but wisdom and the true spirit of heroism. Well done." "Thank you, All Might," Izuku replied, the weight of the medal feeling both strange and right against his chest. As the ceremony concluded and the students prepared to leave, Izuku found himself surrounded by classmates offering congratulations and questions about his techniques. "That golden energy at the end," Kirishima exclaimed. "Was that what you used at the USJ? It looked similar but smaller." "A partial application," Izuku confirmed. "The full version is more intensive." "You never said you could use fire techniques too," Uraraka noted. "What else haven't you shown us?" Izuku smiled slightly. "A good shinobi never reveals all his techniques at once." "Shinobi?" Ida questioned. "You mean like a ninja? Is that how you classify your fighting style?" Before Izuku could respond, a large hand clapped his shoulder. He turned to find Bakugo, his expression intense but controlled. "This doesn't count," the explosive student declared. "Next time, I'll be the one facing you in the finals. And I'll win." Rather than antagonism, Izuku sensed a strange respect in Bakugo's words, the acknowledgement of a worthy rival rather than the dismissal he'd faced for years. "I'll look forward to it, Kaken," he replied sincerely. As they left the stadium, reporters clamored for interviews, particularly with Izuku. His unique abilities and victory had made him the story of the festival, especially after his role in the USJ Incident had leaked to the media. "Midoriya, is it true you're quirkless? How do you explain your abilities? Your techniques resemble ancient martial arts descriptions of a chi manipulation. Is there a connection? That golden energy, is it a transformation quirk that went undiagnosed?" Izuku navigated the questions carefully, giving just enough information to satisfy without revealing Kurama's existence. "It's energy manipulation, not a quirk. With proper training, the human body is capable of more than most people realize." Back at UA, as students changed and prepared to head home, Aizawa announced that they would have the next 2 days off to recover. "When you return," he added, "we'll discuss the internship offers that come from your festival performance. Be prepared to make important decisions about your hero development." That evening, as Izuku soaked in a hot bath to ease his aching muscles, he reflected on the day's events. "You did well, Kit," Kurama commented, "showing just enough of my chakra to win without revealing our full capabilities." "It felt right," Izuku replied mentally.
Todoroki deserved my best effort after he finally embraced his full power. The boy reminds me of shinobi I've known, those with complicated family legacies and powers they initially rejected. His growth today was significant. Everyone's watching us now, though, Izuku noted, sinking deeper into the water. The sports festival broadcast reached millions. There will be questions about my abilities, speculation about what I can really do. Let them speculate, Kurama replied dismissively. Mystery has its advantages for a hero, and those who truly matter, your classmates, your teachers, are beginning to understand you on your own terms. Izuku nodded slightly, closing his eyes. Tomorrow, I'll tell Uraraka and Ida about you. They deserve to know. A wise choice, Kurama agreed. Start with those you trust most. Their reactions will guide how we proceed with others. As sleep claimed him that night, Izuku's dreams were filled with images of the day's battles, the cheering crowds, and the golden chakra that represented his unique partnership with the nine-tailed fox. The sports festival had been just the beginning, a public debut for a power this world had never seen before. Whatever came next, whether internships, further training, or new threats, he would face it with Kurama's guidance and his own unwavering determination. The path of a Jinchuriki in a world of heroes was uncharted territory, but today had proven they were more than ready to forge it. The morning after the sports festival, Izuku's phone wouldn't stop buzzing with notifications. His victory had made him an overnight sensation, with social media exploding with clips of his techniques, particularly the golden-armed Rasengan that had secured his win against Todoroki. #QuirklessWonder was trending, along with various attempts to explain his abilities, secret quirk theory, ancient martial arts revival, and even government super soldier program. The speculation was as wild as it was widespread. Humans and their need to categorize everything, Kurama remarked as Izuku scrolled through the comments. They can't accept that your power exists outside their understanding of quirks. It's human nature, Izuku replied, setting his phone aside. We seek explanations for things that don't fit our worldview. His mother entered his room, carrying a tray with breakfast. I thought you might want to eat in bed today, after yesterday's excitement, she said, smiling proudly. The phone's been ringing all morning. Interview requests, fan mail, even a few endorsement offers. Thanks, Mom, Izuku said, accepting the tray gratefully. But I'm not interested in interviews or endorsements. This was about becoming a hero, not a celebrity. Izuku Midoriya studied her son, noting the maturity in his expression that sometimes made her forget he was only 15. You've grown so much, she said softly. Not just in your abilities, but in who you are. After breakfast, Izuku messaged both Uraraka and Ida, asking if they could meet at a quiet cafe near his neighborhood. It was time to share the truth about Kurama with his closest friends. They arrived together, Uraraka waving enthusiastically while Ida made precise, chopping gestures as he greeted Izuku. Congratulations again on your magnificent victory, Ida declared, his glasses flashing. Your performance was exemplary in every way. Yeah, you were amazing, Deku, Uraraka added, her round face beaming. Everyone's talking about you. Thanks, Izuku replied with a small smile. But that's not why I asked you here. They seated themselves in a secluded corner of the cafe, away from other patrons who might recognize the UA students from the televised festival. I have something important to tell you both, Izuku began, his expression serious. Something I've never told anyone outside the UA faculty. It's about the source of my powers. Uraraka leaned forward, curiosity evident in her eyes. Your chakra abilities, right? You said it was energy manipulation anyone could learn with practice. That's partially true, Izuku acknowledged. Chakra is universal and theoretically anyone could learn to use it with proper instruction. But there's a reason I was able to master it when others haven't. He took a deep breath, looking at both friends directly. I have a partner, a being composed entirely of chakra who lives within me and has guided my development since I was 4 years old. Silence followed his declaration. Ida's glasses slid slightly down his nose as his eyebrows rose in surprise. Uraraka blinked rapidly, processing the information. A being inside you? She finally managed. Like a quirk that gained sentience? Not a quirk, Izuku corrected gently. Something older, more powerful. His name is Kurama, and he's known as the nine-tailed fox where he comes from. Where he comes from? Ida repeated, his analytical mind immediately focusing on this detail. You imply an origin outside our known world? Izuku nodded, It's complicated and sometimes hard to believe, but Kurama comes from a different reality altogether, one where chakra is the primary power system instead of quirks. He continued explaining, detailing how Kurama had first made contact when he was diagnosed as quirkless, how the fox had taught him to access and manipulate chakra, and how their partnership had developed over the years. The golden energy you saw during the final match and at the USJ, that's Kurama's chakra directly. It's far more potent than my own, but my body can only channel it for limited periods. When he finished, his friends sat in stunned silence, trying to process everything. Finally, Uraraka spoke. Can we meet him? Kurama? The question surprised Izuku. Meet him? Yeah. If he's your partner and friend and he's helped you all these years, we should properly introduce ourselves, right? Izuku glanced inward, consulting with Kurama. What do you think? The fox considered for a moment. The girl has spirit. The boy seems trustworthy if rigid. I don't object. He's willing, Izuku told his friends. But it's not like he can physically manifest. He can speak through me briefly, though it's a strain to maintain. Whatever works. Uraraka said eagerly while Ida nodded his agreement, curiosity overcoming his initial shock. Izuku closed his eyes, entering a light meditative state. When he opened them again, the transformation was subtle but unmistakable. Vertical slit pupils replaced his round ones, and his expression shifted to something more feral, more ancient. So these are your chosen companions. Kurama's deep voice emerged from Izuku's mouth, startling both friends. The gravity girl and the engine boy. It's nice to meet you, Kurama-san, Uraraka stammered, her eyes wide with fascination. Indeed, Ida added, bowing formally despite being seated. Thank you for assisting our friend in his heroic journey. Kurama's borrowed face formed an amused smirk. So polite, different from the shinobi children of my world. His vertical slit eyes studied them intently. You care for Izuku. That's good. The path of a Jinchuriki, a human containing a tailed beast, is often lonely. We'd never abandon Deku, Uraraka declared firmly. No matter what. Bold words, Kurama replied. We shall see if they hold true when challenges come. His expression softened slightly. But I sense sincerity in you both. Izuku chose his friends well. With that, the vertical slits faded, and Izuku blinked, returning to himself. So, that was Kurama, he said somewhat awkwardly. He's intense, Uraraka exclaimed. But kind of cool too. Fascinating? Ida murmured, adjusting his glasses. A sentient energy being from another reality. The scientific and philosophical implications are staggering. Izuku smiled with relief. You're both taking this remarkably well. We've seen what you can do, Deku, Uraraka replied simply. And you've always used your power to help others. That's what matters, right? Precisely. Ida agreed. The origin of one's abilities is far less important than how one chooses to apply them. As future heroes, we understand this fundamental truth. Their acceptance warmed Izuku deeply. He had feared rejection or fear, but instead found unquestioning support. The weight of secrecy, carried for so long, lifted partially from his shoulders. Thank you, he said sincerely. I don't plan to tell everyone yet, but knowing you two understand means a lot. Your secret is safe with us, Ida assured him. Though I must ask, does Bakugo know? Izuku shook his head. No, and I'm not sure he's ready to hear it. Our relationship is complicated. That's putting it mildly, Uraraka muttered. They spent the next hour discussing the implications of Izuku's revelation, with him answering their questions about chakra, Kurama's abilities, and what the partnership meant for his future as a hero. By the time they parted ways, both Uraraka and Ida had a deeper understanding of their friend and his unique power. The following day, Yue resumed classes. As Izuku entered the classroom, he was greeted by a chorus of congratulations and excited questions from classmates who had analyzed his festival performance extensively. Those fire techniques were sick, Kaminari exclaimed. Can you do other elements too? The way you talked Todoroki into using his fire side was so manly, Kirishima added, pumping his fist enthusiastically. Even Yaoyorozu approached with her notebook open. I've been researching historical accounts of energy manipulation similar to your techniques. The parallels to ancient Eastern practices are fascinating. Amidst the excitement, Izuku noticed Todoroki watching him quietly from his seat. The dual quirk user nodded slightly in acknowledgement, a small but significant gesture after their life-changing battle. Bakugo, surprisingly, didn't confront him directly. Instead,
The explosive student seemed deep in thought, his usual aggression tempered by something resembling respect, or at least serious consideration. "Settle down," Aizawa called as he entered, wrapped in slightly fewer bandages than before. "Your festival performance generated significant interest from pro-heroes. Today we'll discuss the internship offers you've received." He displayed a chart showing the number of offers each student had received. Todoroki and Bakugo led with thousands each, their raw power and quirk potential attracting widespread professional interest. But surprisingly, Izuku's name appeared third, with a number that made the class gasp collectively. "Midoriya, 3,458 offers," Aizawa announced. "An unprecedented number for a student initially registered as quirkless. Your victory and unique abilities have clearly captured the pros' attention." "That's incredible, Deku," Uraraka whispered excitedly. "A testament to your exceptional performance," Ida added. "Many of these offers specifically mention interest in your energy manipulation techniques," Aizawa continued. "Others cite your tactical intelligence and combat adaptability. You'll have difficult choices to make." Izuku nodded, somewhat overwhelmed by the number. "Thank you, Sensei. You'll have 2 days to review the offers and submit your preferences," Aizawa concluded. "Choose wisely. This week-long internship will significantly impact your hero development." As the class discussed their options, Izuku reviewed his list with Kurama's guidance. "Many of these are from combat specialists," the fox observed as Izuku scrolled through the offers. "They see your techniques and want to harness them for fighting. But that's not all I want to focus on," Izuku replied mentally. "Combat is important, but rescue operations, investigative work, public relations, a complete hero needs all these skills. Then look for someone who offers balance or specializes in areas where you're weakest." A name caught Izuku's attention: Gran Torino, a retired hero who had left a particularly interesting note with his offer. "I know what you are. We should talk." "This one," Izuku thought to Kurama. "He seems to know something about us." "A potential risk," the fox noted cautiously, "but also potentially valuable." "Your instincts have been good so far, Kit." By the end of the day, Izuku had narrowed his choices with Gran Torino at the top of his list. The cryptic message suggested knowledge that few in this world possessed, perhaps insights about chakra or even awareness of beings like Kurama. As he prepared to submit his preference, All Might approached him in the hallway. "Young Midoriya, a moment of your time?" "Of course, All Might," Izuku replied, following the hero to a private office. Inside, All Might deflated to his true form, coughing slightly before speaking. "I noticed Gran Torino among your offers. I thought I should provide some context." "You know him?" Izuku asked, surprised. "Indeed. He was my homeroom teacher during my brief time at UA, and..." All Might hesitated. "My predecessor's close friend." "Predecessor?" All Might's sunken eyes studied Izuku carefully. "My quirk, One for All, is unique. Unlike other quirks, it can be transferred from one bearer to another, growing stronger with each generation." Izuku's eyes widened at this revelation. "A transferable quirk? I didn't think that was possible." "There's much about quirks that remains mysterious, just as there's much about your chakra that defies conventional understanding." All Might coughed again, more severely this time. "Gran Torino knew my predecessor, the 7th holder of One for All, and helped train me as the 8th. And now he's interested in me," Izuku realized. "But why? What did he mean by 'I know what you are'?" "That," All Might admitted, "I cannot answer. Gran Torino has always been enigmatic. But I can tell you he's an exceptional hero with insights few possess. If he's taken interest in you specifically, there must be a significant reason." Izuku considered this information carefully. "Thank you for telling me, All Might. I think I'll accept his offer." "I suspected you might," All Might smiled weakly. "Just be prepared for an unconventional experience. Torino's teaching methods are rather unique." After submitting his internship preference, Izuku returned home to prepare for the upcoming experience. The past few weeks had been transformative, from the USJ attack to the sports festival victory, from revealing Kurama to Uraraka and Ida to learning about All Might's transferable quirk. "Things are accelerating," Kurama commented as Izuku packed his hero costume for the internship. "More truths emerging, more connections forming." "Is that a good thing?" Izuku asked. "Change is neither good nor bad inherently," the fox replied philosophically. "It simply is. How we adapt to it determines its value." Izuku nodded, folding his costume carefully. "This Gran Torino, what do you think he knows about us?" "Impossible to say," Kurama mused.
but in my experience, when an elder claims knowledge others lack, it's usually worth listening even if only to evaluate the claim. As night fell, Izuku sat cross-legged on his bed, entering his mindscape to commune directly with Kurama. The massive fox lounged in their shared mental forest, NineTails swishing contemplatively. "We've come far since that first day," Kurama remarked, watching Izuku sit before him. "The frightened, quirkless child has become something this world has never seen before." "Because of your guidance," Izuku acknowledged. "I couldn't have done any of this without you." "Don't sell yourself short, Kit. Your determination and moral compass have shaped our path as much as my power." The fox's expression grew serious. "But the real challenges are just beginning." The villain who attacked the USJ Shigaraki, his hatred was genuine and deep. He will return, stronger and more prepared. "And we'll be ready," Izuku replied confidently. "Whatever comes next, we'll face it together." Kurama nodded, a rare smile forming on his vulpine features. "Together, indeed. Rest now." The path of a Jinchuriki never remains peaceful for long. As Izuku drifted to sleep, his mind filled with possibilities for the coming internship. Whatever Gran Torino knew, whatever insights he might offer, Izuku would approach with an open mind and determined spirit. The journey that had begun with a frightened 4-year-old hearing a fox's voice in his mind had led to UA, to the sports festival championship, to new friendships and emerging truths. And it was far from over. The legend of the nine-tailed Jinchuriki in a world of heroes was just beginning to unfold. No quirk, no one for all. Just a boy and a beast building power the hard way. Deku has stepped into the world of heroes without the blessing of the system, only the fire of his own will and the legacy of a world long gone. And he's just getting started. If this story pulled you in, show some love. Drop a comment. Hit that like button. We're aiming for 150 likes to unlock part 2. And subscribe so you never miss what comes next. ChronoCrew, the timeline has officially shifted. Stay sharp and I'll see you in the next part.